Haha, none of them. Lin Shui shook her head with a smile, suppressed the excitement in her heart, and said softly. Xiao Fei awakened to a hidden profession. Really? Qin Shuang didn't believe it and looked at Lin Shui suspiciously, suspecting that she was joking to tease him. Of course it's true. Lin Shui answered with a serious face, and it's the only hidden profession, Lord of the Undead. So powerful. Seeing Lin Shui's expression, Qin Shuang finally believed her words, her eyes widened and her eyebrows raised 3 points. That's how awesome it is. Lin Shui said proudly with a little pride on his face. I heard from my parents that when Xiao Fei changed jobs, the strange phenomenon was so big that the entire Riverside City could see it. When I changed jobs, I didn't make such a big noise. He's actually better than you. Qin Shuang covered her mouth and said in surprise. Then there is a great chance of being admitted to our school. Lin Shui nodded in agreement. I think so too. Congratulations. Qin Shuang was happy for her best friend from the bottom of her heart. My brother has awakened his only hidden profession. You can finally rest assured. Lin Shui smiled and nodded, her worries long gone. We must celebrate. Qin Shuang hugged Lin Shui's arm affectionately and said with a smile, after training hard for several months, I am finally relieved. You can also have a good rest for a few days. Lin Shui also felt that he should celebrate, but he still said, let's do it another day, I haven't completed the training volume today. You are still going to train. Qin Shuang widened his eyes and raised his voice and said, your brother has awakened his only hidden profession. There is no need for a job transfer scroll, and you don't need to participate in the Kangxiling dungeon. Why are you still training? I've gotten used to it these past few months. Lin Shui smiled and insisted. Although Xiao Fei doesn't need the scroll for job transfer, I still plan to participate in the Kangxiling dungeon. It's all for experience. I really admire you. Qin Shuang covered her forehead and was speechless. She didn't understand why Lin Shui was training so hard. She should just enjoy herself while she was young. Speaking of carpe diem, Qin Shuang suddenly thought of Lin Fei, rolled her eyes, and said softly, if your brother is admitted to our school, then he will be our junior, hee. She had seen the family photo taken by Lin Shui Junior High School. The young and handsome boy in the photo must have grown into a handsome boy by now. Hey. When he enters school, you must get to know him, hee. Lin Shui was keenly aware that something was wrong with Qin Shuang, and looked at her warily. Why are you talking about this? I don't want to do anything. I just want to be closer and closer. Qin Shuang laughed and hugged Lin Shui's arm tighter. That's my brother, why are you so close? Lin Shui pushed Qin Shuang away with a look of disgust. We are good friends. Your brother is my brother. Of course I want to get closer to him more. Qin Shuang looked malicious. Obviously her purpose was not that simple. Lin Shui also noticed something was wrong and said in a bad tone. I'm warning you, you idiot, don't mess with my brother. Are there any best friends like you? Qin Shuang glanced at Lin Shui with some dissatisfaction. Your brother is so handsome. Instead of taking advantage of others, it is better to take advantage of me. This is called keeping the wealth from others. You are also an outsider. Lin Shui refused unceremoniously, pretending to hit her. Stay away from my brother. I found you hooking up with my brother. See how I deal with you. Giggle. It depends on whether your brother is willing to stay away from this beautiful senior sister like me. Qin Shuang giggled and ran away. Riverside City. Lin Fei has entered the ordinary level copy. The environment in the dungeon is the same as the simple level dungeon. It is a dense forest and the view is not very good. Lin Fei immediately released the ghost of the undead. Then follow the previous strategy. The undead ghosts hunted monsters within a certain radius of Lin Fei. Lin Fei was enjoying the experience leisurely. Kill level 3 alienated spider, experience plus 40. Kill level 3 red armored beast, experience plus 45. Undead ghosts are constantly hunting monsters. Lin Fei also received prompts for increasing experience. As expected of an ordinary level copy, the weakest monster has level 3. There are still many powerful monsters in the deeper parts of the dungeon. This is much more difficult than a simple copy. No wonder no one has cleared the level solo in so many years. Not to mention playing alone, even in a team, it might not be easy to pass. Lin Fei was secretly speechless after the undead ghosts killed several monsters. However, he didn't really care. Difficulty also has its advantages. The monsters in the ordinary level dungeon are not weakened, and you will gain more experience after killing them than in the simple level dungeon. This way I can gain more experience and level up faster. The level of difficulty made no difference to Lin Fei. Anyway, the undead ghost is powerful enough. You can still crush monsters in the ordinary level dungeon. He even wishes that the difficulty is as high as possible so that he can gain more experience. The monsters in the simple level dungeon are too weak, so I didn't kill them easily. Now I can make up for it. Lin Fei curled his lips and told the undead ghosts not to reserve their strength, but to go all out and fight to their heart's content. He himself walked forward slowly. What is that? Lin Fei's sharp eyes saw an item falling from the monster, so he walked over quickly. Normal fur. Level. Level 1. Function. Insulation, synthetic materials for other items. Not something valuable, but it's better than nothing. Lin Fei put the ordinary fur into the backpack space and looked around, with a little more anticipation in his eyes. Monsters in ordinary level dungeons have not been weakened. Therefore, killing them will have a certain probability of obtaining dropped items. There are hundreds of monsters in this dungeon. Even if the probability of dropping items is low, you can still gain something. Lin Fei gathered his energy and carefully observed whether any items dropped from the monster when the undead ghost killed it. Kill level 3 Ant Beast, experience plus 30. Kill level 3 Childish Bud, experience plus 40. Kill level 3 Alienated Hardshell Beast, experience plus 45. The ghosts of the dead are chopping melons and vegetables in the level 3 area. Lin Fei followed closely behind him. During this period, some items dropped by monsters were collected by Lin Fei. But they were all worthless things like furs, animal bones, and meat, and they didn't even have the mana recovery potion that Lin Fei was looking forward to. Push all the way to the depths of the level 3 area. There are hundreds of level 3 monsters that died at the hands of the undead ghosts. Lin Fei's experience bar finally reached 100% and he was promoted to level 5. Name: Lin Fei. Occupation: Undead Lord, only. Level: 5, 0.00%. Life: 50. Strength: 55. Agility: 45. Mana: 60. Equipment: none. Backpack space: 6/30. Army: Undead Ghost. As the level increases, more arms can be unlocked. Skill: Bone Spur. Summon Undead Ghost. Bone Spur. Consumes 20 mana points to summon bone spurs from the ground to attack the enemy, causing physical damage to the target. Summon the Undead Ghost. Spend 10 mana points to summon an Undead Ghost. Talent: Infinite Synthesis. Synthesize any number and type of items and summons to obtain items with corresponding random abilities and corresponding random levels. Same as previous times. After reaching level 5, Lin Fei's 4-dimensional attributes each improved a bit. The backpack space has also been expanded to accommodate more items. At the same time, the mana is full again. Lin Fei consumed 60 points of mana in one breath and summoned 6 undead ghosts. Put it into your backpack and combine it with the original Ghost of the Dead to once again enhance the strength of the Ghost of the Dead. Black Iron level Undead Ghost. Life: 190. Strength: 200. Agility: 300. Mana: 170. Skill: Strengthen. Strengthen. Consume 50 mana points to double the attack power for 30 seconds. Cooling time 1 hour. Lin Fei nodded with satisfaction as he watched the 4-dimensional attributes of the undead ghost increase again. Drive the undead ghosts deeper into the dungeon. Lin Fei was the first student to start conquering the ordinary level copy. Everyone else is still in the simple level copy and has not cleared the level. Among them, Lu Zi, the hidden professional in number 1, has made the fastest progress. After entering the dungeon for 10 hours, he has already reached the deepest level of the level 3 area. Skeleton army, come here, kill them all. Lu Zi stood there and danced with excitement. The 16 skeleton warriors in front were strangulating the level 3 monsters that were besieged by them. Seeing that several level 3 monsters in the encirclement were hit by skeleton warriors, with more and more injuries on their bodies, and they would be resolved soon, Lu Zi, who was watching the battle from behind, became even more excited. We are finally leaving the level 3 area. Lu Zi clenched his fists, his eyes full of excitement. Then we will enter the level 4 area and kill the boss. My experience now has increased to 82%. These level 3 monsters, plus the dungeon boss, will definitely allow me to upgrade to level 4. Lu Zi's eyes sparkled. He is confident that he is the fastest progressing and the highest level among all the people. And, the gap will grow wider over time. Seeing the skeleton army kill all the level 3 monsters. Lu Zi also received a reminder to increase his experience. He did not stop and led 16 skeleton warriors out of the forest and into the endless grassland. Standing on the vast grassland, Lu Zi was in a good mood. He looked down at the time, his face darkened for a moment, and his good mood was completely gone. What? It's actually been 10 hours. I've just entered the level 4 area now. His goal is to clear the simple level dungeon in 10 hours. But now 10 hours have passed and I have just entered the level 4 area. This goal has obviously not been achieved. You should be damned if you failed. Lu Zi cursed in his mind and was in a bad mood. The simple level dungeon is much more difficult than I thought. No wonder it took Lin Shui 11 hours to clear it last year. I heard that the simple level dungeon boss has not been weakened yet, and there will definitely be another fierce battle next. It will take at least an hour to clear the level. Calculated this way, it took me 11 hours, which is about the same as Lin Shui. It's such a shame not to surpass her. Lu Zi frowned, feeling very dissatisfied with this result. But he quickly adjusted his mood. If you don't surpass it, then you won't surpass it. At least I didn't lose to her. And, of all the guys this year, I'm definitely the fastest. Thinking this way, Lu Zi felt much better and rekindled his fighting spirit. The next step is to read the ordinary level copy. Lin Shui failed to clear the ordinary level dungeon last year. If I want to surpass her, I have to clear the ordinary level dungeon. My profession is Skeleton Lord. The higher the level, the greater the advantage. If there are dozens of skeleton warriors fighting for me, they can definitely sweep everything. So in conquering the ordinary level dungeon, I have an advantage over Lin Shui. I will definitely surpass her and become the first person in more than 10 years to clear the ordinary level dungeon alone. I will avenge the shame of 1 for 1. With high morale and pride rising in his chest, Lu Zi took firm steps and walked towards the depths of the grassland. As for Lin Fei from number 2 middle school, he wasn't worried at all and had even ignored it. He lost interest as early as when he learned that Lin Fei had a lord profession like him. If Lin Fei awakened to other hidden professions, he might still pay attention to it. But Lin Fei is a lord profession. So what about the only hidden profession? Having a career similar to mine is the greatest tragedy in your life. I will definitely become the strongest lord-type professional, while other lord-type professionals are destined to only look up from afar behind me. Another novice copy. Liang Jia was holding a long sword and was dealing with an alienated hard-shelled beast. The two sides have been fighting fiercely for more than 10 minutes. The body of the alienated hard-shell beast is covered with sword marks and scars. Especially the sword marks on the left leg are so deep that the bones are visible, seriously affecting its movement. Liang Jia now had the upper hand and was about to kill this level 3 monster in one go. Perfect blade. Liang Jia suddenly swung her sword forward, pulling up 4 silver sword energy and slashing at the alienated hard-shelled beast. The alienated hard-shell beast was unable to dodge and was hit by 4 silver sword auras. A huge wound was torn open on his body, and the remaining sword aura penetrated deep into its body, twisting its internal organs into pieces. Kill level 3 alienated hard-shell beast, experience plus 30. Receive prompts for increased experience. Liang Jia instantly relaxed and exhaled heavily. The battle just now consumed a lot of her energy, and her hands and feet felt a little weak. Fortunately, the battle was finally over. After inserting the long sword into the mud, Liang Jia sat down with her back against a big tree to rest and regain her strength. As expected of a level 3 monster, it's really not easy to deal with. It took me more than 10 minutes, using extra skills, to kill it completely. Liang Jia watched the body of the alienated hard-shell beast slowly disappear and couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, after killing this level 3 monster, I will be promoted to level 3. It will be much easier to deal with level 3 monsters in the future. Liang Jia took a look at the upgraded attribute panel and nodded with satisfaction. After being promoted to level 3, her 4-dimensional attributes have improved a lot, and her mana has returned to full value. You won't have to deal with level 3 monsters anymore. I have been in the dungeon for 8 hours and finally entered the level 3 area. I wonder how the others are doing. Liang Jia lowered his head and thought, and said deeply, those who formed the team must be progressing faster than me. It should have been a while since they entered the level 3 area. But they share experience among several people, so the upgrade speed is not as fast as mine. As for those who clear the dungeon alone, except for the 2 hidden professions, I should be considered the fastest. Liang Jia is a rare professional swordsman, and she is very confident in herself. Except for the hidden profession, no one is better than herself. Those 2 hidden professionals should be faster than the people in the team. They have at least entered the level 3 area, and have even entered the level 4 area. I also have to speed up and not be left too far behind. Think of this. Liang Jia stood up, drew out her long sword, and continued to move deeper into the level 3 area. Take my arrow. Shu Wei suddenly took a step back, took a stance, and drew the long bow into a full moon shape. Then with a hiss, the sharp arrow turned into a stream of light and shot into the grass in the distance. Not hearing the scream of the monster being hit by an arrow, Shu Wei scratched his head and said bitterly, it turned out to be a false alarm. I ran over all the way and pushed aside the grass. Sure enough, there was only 1 arrow inside, and there was no trace of the monster at all. Oh, this is the first time. I am a little too cautious. Shu Wei retracted the arrow in frustration and continued walking deeper into the dungeon. It has been 8 hours since he entered the dungeon, and he is still in the level 2 area, still some distance away from the level 3 area. This progress is the slowest of all. The reason why he is so slow is simple. It's just that he is very vigilant. It has reached the point where everyone is at war. If there is any disturbance, he draws his bow and shoots an arrow. 8 times out of 10, it was just a false alarm like before. It would be weird if it could be faster like this. Safety first, safety first. Speed is not important, just explore slowly. My safety comes first. Shu Wei comforted himself in his heart. He was so careful that he would not be in danger. The protection mechanism of the novice copy was turned into a decoration by him. Alas, didn't you say that the novice copy is very simple? Why do I feel so difficult? Shu Wei muttered as he advanced. I originally thought that I could kill everyone in the simple level dungeon, so I chose to do it alone. After I came in, I discovered that except for those level 0 monsters, which I could kill with 1 arrow, the other monsters were not easy to deal with. I couldn't kill them with 2 or 3 arrows. It's not as easy as they said. Shu Wei felt like he had been cheated. If I had known it was so difficult, I would have just formed a team with others. Why bother to grind alone? At my current speed, when will I be able to get out of the dungeon? Shu Wei wailed in his heart, took a deep breath, and moved on. Thinking of Lin Fei and Liang Jia again. I don't know what's going on with brother Fei and sister. Shu Wei had a fat belly and scratched his head. The 2 of them are so good that they must be faster than me. Sister-in-law may have entered the level 3 area. Brother Fei may have entered the level 4 area. Thinking of this, Shu Wei couldn't help but sigh. Originally, he was still complacent about awakening the main combat profession. Now it seems that rare professions and hidden professions are more popular. You tell me why I didn't ask Fei Zhe if he had the secret method to awaken his hidden profession. If I could awaken hidden professions or rare professions, I wouldn't have to be so cautious and I would have killed everyone. Alas, it's too late to regret now. It's better to work hard and try to pass the level as soon as possible. Even if they are not as good as brother Fei and sister too, they cannot be dragged down too far. Shu Wei cheered up again and accelerated his pace. Time passes slowly. People outside the copy are waiting for a long time. The people in the dungeon were nervous and fighting against the monsters. Lin Fei was the only one, looking relaxed as if on an outing, watching the undead ghosts fighting several level 5 monsters with great interest. It has been 3 hours since I entered the ordinary level instance. Lin Fei led the undead ghosts through the level 3 area and level 4 area, and entered the level 5 area. This is going very fast. It's even faster than the simple level dungeon. The reason is that the monsters in the ordinary level copy have not been weakened. In addition to being strong in combat power, they are also very aggressive. Lin Fei does not need to search for them. As long as he makes some noise, many monsters can be attracted to rush forward. Like now. The undead ghost is being besieged by 6 level 5 monsters. Wrong. To be precise, it is the ghosts of the undead that are besieging these 6 monsters. Go all out, don't let any of them escape. Lin Fei reminded him when he saw the monsters were frightened back by the terrifying power of the undead ghosts. After receiving the order, the undead ghost immediately showed unparalleled speed. In an instant, he came to several monsters and slapped them one by one, directly turning them into pulp. Oh, it's too weak. It's not challenging at all. Lin Fei received the reminder of increasing experience and shook his head with a smile. He was so crushed all the way, which made him feel a little boring. It's a pity that I didn't advance to level 6. Lin Fei looked at the properties panel. After these 6 monsters were killed, his experience increased a bit, but it was still some distance from 100%. It's exactly what the teacher said. The higher the level, the slower the upgrade will be. I killed all the monsters in level 3 and level 4 areas, but they didn't even let me advance to level 1. It is estimated that you have to fight to the middle of the level 5 area to gain enough experience to advance to level 6. This is also something that can't be helped. Lin Fei could only wait patiently. Fortunately, there are undead ghosts. Killing monsters is easy, and leveling up is only a matter of time. Let's go see what goodies drop. Lin Fei exhaled and walked towards the battlefield in 3 steps and 2 steps. Level 5 monsters have a much higher probability of dropping items than level 3 monsters. After the 6 corpses on the ground disappeared, 3 things were left behind. Level 2 wolfskin leggings, level 2 opal, level 2 health potion. Lin Fei took a look at the attribute descriptions of the 3 items and was quite satisfied. First, pick out the 3 worst items from the backpack space, throw them aside, and then put the 3 newly acquired items into the backpack space. No way. Kill all the way. Lin Fei's backpack space has long been filled with various items. If you want to put in new items, you can only throw away items with lower value. This process has been repeated many times and will continue to be repeated. Because the closer to the late stage, the higher the value of the items Lin Fei obtains. Maybe in the end, even these level 2 items will be discarded to make room. Keep going. After Lin Fei packed up, he took the undead ghosts and headed deeper. At the current speed, we can kill an area in more than an hour. It is estimated that we will be able to defeat the dungeon boss in another 4 to 5 hours. In the ordinary level dungeon, except for the last dungeon boss, which may be a bit more difficult to deal with, the other monsters are easy to deal with and can even be said to be vulnerable to the undead ghosts. That's why Lin Fei had the confidence to say such things. After advancing for a while, the undead ghost's deliberate movement suddenly attracted more than a dozen level 5 monsters. Lin Fei stood there and watched the undead ghosts killing monsters one by one, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The teacher is right, the ordinary level dungeon is indeed much more difficult than the simple level dungeon. It's because of the synthesized undead ghosts that I was able to fight all the way here. Without the synthesized undead ghosts, it would probably be very difficult to deal with these monsters. Summoning dozens of undead ghosts and using the human sea tactic is effective in simple level dungeons, but it may be useless in ordinary level dungeons. After all, in the ordinary level dungeon, if the fighting is loud, it will attract a lot of monsters. If you are besieged by more than a dozen monsters, your numerical advantage will be gone. So, your own unlimited synthesis talent is so delicious. The synthesized undead ghost is 1 against 100, and is not afraid of the siege of more than a dozen monsters. Lin Fei put his hands behind his head, with a smile on his face. It is still necessary to gain experience by killing more monsters, and be promoted to level 15 as soon as possible to open the rank 1 of the system. An infinite synthesized talent is only so powerful. After turning on the system, you will definitely gain more powerful abilities. Kill level 5 goblin, experience plus 70. Kill level 5 Minotaur, experience plus 75. Kill level 5 Alienated Spider, experience plus 60. A series of more than a dozen tips for increasing experience were received. Lin Fei's experience suddenly increased a lot, reaching 100%, and he was officially promoted to level 6. Name: Lin Fei. Occupation: Undead Lord, only. Level: 6, 0.00%. Life: 65, Strength: 70, Agility: 60. Mana: 70, Equipment: none. Backpack space: 30/40ths. Army: Undead Ghost. As the level increases, more arms can be unlocked. Skills: Teleportation, Bone Spurs, Summoning Undead Ghosts. Teleportation: consume 5 mana points to instantly move 200 meters in the specified direction. Bone Spur: consumes 25 mana points to summon bone spurs from the ground to attack the enemy, causing physical damage to the target. Summon the Undead Ghost: spend 10 mana points to summon an undead ghost. Talent: Infinite Synthesis. Synthesize any number and type of items and summons to obtain items with corresponding random abilities and corresponding random levels. Same as before. The 4-dimensional attributes are increased and the backpack space is expanded. However, Lin Fei didn't pay attention to these, but focused on the skill bar. Teleport. New skill. Lin Fei was pleasantly surprised when he saw a new skill in his skill bar. No wonder the principal wants me to be promoted to at least level 6 on the first day. It turns out that after being promoted to level 6, you can get a new skill. Lin Fei suddenly realized, and at the same time looked at the new skill introduction on the attribute panel. Teleport, can move 200 meters in the specified direction. Try it. Lin Fei couldn't wait to spend 5 points of mana and use teleportation skills. When the skill is activated, his body disappears instantly on the spot. The next second, Lin Fei's figure appeared 200 meters ahead. Teleportation is really good. Lin Fei was very satisfied with this new skill. If you encounter any unexpected situation, you can use this skill to instantly move 200 meters away to avoid it. I need to practice this skill a few more times. It will definitely be of great use in the future. Lin Fei thought to himself. After being promoted to level 6, his mana is restored and increased to 80 points. But no new undead ghosts were summoned for synthesis. The current undead ghosts are powerful enough to ensure that they can pass all the way. Then these 80 mana points can be used to practice teleportation skills. Lin Fei made up his mind. On the other hand, he ordered the ghosts of the dead to move forward. While continuing to practice teleportation skills, continue to move deeper into the copy, the main palace of Riverside City. The burly city lord Chen Han sat on the main seat, followed by a middle-aged scribe with gray hair on his temples. Mr. Zhou, how did my little girl perform in the novice dungeon trial? City lord Chen Han looked at the middle-aged scribe who had just returned and asked with concern. Very good. The middle-aged scribe shook his fan and said unhurriedly, Ling Qinjin has cleared the simple level dungeon and is now going through the strategy in the ordinary level dungeon. That's good. Chen Han felt relieved, nodded, and said to the middle-aged scribe, Mr. Lao Zhou will be here before my little girl takes the college entrance examination. As the lord of Riverside City, he has a lot of matters to deal with every day, and he really can't get away from it. Therefore, she can only entrust her daughter to Zhou Mi, a specially hired teacher from a higher education institution. Don't worry, Shengfu. Since you have entrusted me with your daughter, I will definitely do my best to help her improve and get a good score in the college entrance examination. Zhou Mi is full of confidence, which is the confidence accumulated from many years of teaching students. Then he explained. If it weren't for the purpose of training Ling Qinjin, why would it take 10 hours to clear the simple level dungeon? 8 hours would be enough. Sir, don't worry. I'll leave everything to you, sir. Chen Han smiled broadly and cupped his hands towards Zhou Mi, not forgetting to say, I have already sent someone to pick up the remuneration I promised you, sir. Acquired can be handed over to you, sir, on hand. Zhou Mi nodded calmly. At the same time, she sighed in her heart that it would be great to have a powerful me. After changing jobs, she would not have to worry about anything, everything would be arranged for her. Take Chen Zihan, the daughter of Riverside City Lord Chen Han, for example. What she awakened was the main combat profession, Shadow Assassin. Being able to awaken the main combat profession is already very good, and there is a high probability of passing the college entrance examination and entering an institution of higher learning. But it is very difficult for the main combat profession to be admitted to Longguo Vocational University. If the ability is not enough, resources must be collected. Her father, Chen Han, first took out a rare item as a reward and asked himself, a teacher at a higher education institution, to provide special guidance to Chen Zihan before the college entrance examination. He also gave an order directly and domineeringly, asking more than a dozen high schools in the city to free up a novice dungeon specifically for Chen Zihan's use. This is also the reason why Chen Zihan, as a high school student, did not participate in the novice dungeon trial with others. Of course, it is much better for one person to use a novice copy alone than for hundreds of people to share a novice copy. This is not over yet. In order to allow Chen Zihan to pass the level in the novice copy more smoothly, the level will be improved faster. Chen Han not only prepared various items and equipment for her, they even directly sent 5 level 15 guards to form a team with Chen Zihan and enter the novice copy. If Chen Zihan encounters a monster that he cannot deal with in the dungeon, the 5 guards will take action to cripple the monster, and then let Chen Zihan make a last-ditch attack. In this way, the experience gained from the monster will naturally belong to Chen Zihan. With so many resources, let alone Chen Zihan's awakening of the main combat profession, even the life profession can be safely promoted to level 10. Zhou Mi was envious in her heart and sighed to herself why she didn't have such a good father. But envy cannot come from envy. He sat upright and said to Chen Han, "Don't worry, City Lord, Ling Qinjin will have no problems in the novice copy trial. According to my plan, under the protection of 5 level 15 guards, Ling Qinjin can successfully clear the novice dungeon, even the difficult level dungeon. When the novice copy trial is over, Ling Qinjin can be promoted to level 10. Then, you can go outside the city to join the newly discovered level 10 Secret Realm instance and continue to improve. It is no exaggeration to say that in the entire Riverside City, no one will improve faster than Ling Qinjin, even if he is a hidden profession. City Lord, when your wife goes to conquer the new Secret Realm in level 10, it would be best to find a few freshmen this year to form a team to conquer together," Zhou Mi suggested with a serious look on his face. Why? Chen Han was a little confused. Of course, he wanted his daughter to conquer this new level 10 Secret Realm alone with her guards, so that she could monopolize all the benefits. Zhou Mi looked helpless when he heard this. He didn't expect that Chen Han, who had always been shrewd, would become confused when it came to matters related to his daughter. Could this be a fan of the authorities? He had no choice but to patiently explain. "City Lord, you are going too far by giving a direct order to more than a dozen high schools in the city and asking them to free up a novice copy for your daughter to use alone. Fortunately, your love only used the novice copy for 1 day, so even if those high school students have any objections, they can only keep it in their stomachs. But this level 10 new Secret Realm is different. The reason why we blocked this Secret Realm before was to prepare it for the outstanding freshmen in the city. If you only let your daughter use the Secret Realm, everyone else in the city will definitely be furious. Everyone knows that the rewards for clearing the new Secret Realm for the first time are extremely generous. Professionals in Riverside City covet this new level 10 Secret Realm. Chen Han's reason for blocking this new Secret Realm was to reserve it for this year's outstanding freshmen so that they could get good grades in the college entrance examination. Therefore, even if the professionals in Riverside City have opinions, they can only follow orders. But if it is found that Chen Han's blocking of Secret Realm is actually showing favoritism to his daughter, then there will definitely be a large number of people who are dissatisfied and even make trouble, and it will be difficult to deal with it then. Chen Han also understood and knew that what Zhou Mi said made sense, so he had to compromise. Then add a few more people, 4 at most, no, 3 at most. Seeing that Chen Han was still unwilling, Zhou Mi explained, "I suggest you do this. In fact, it has another purpose. Your love has now cleared the dungeon. If you encounter monsters that you can't deal with, you can ask the guards to help. But this method will definitely not be used during the college entrance examination. So, we took advantage of this opportunity to clear the new level 10 secret realm to find team members for Ling Ai's college entrance examination in advance. Let them work together to improve and adapt to level 10's new secret realm. They will definitely get better results in the college entrance examination. After listening to Zhou Mi's explanation, Chen Han nodded repeatedly. Mr. Zhou is right. I didn't think it through. I will listen to Mr. Zhou in everything. Thank you, City Lord, for your trust. Zhou Mi nodded and added, the college entrance examination is a group of 5 people, so we still need to find 4 group members for your daughter. I heard that there are 2 hidden professionals and 3 rare professionals in Riverside City this year. It's best to invite these 4 team members. Or, wait for the results of the novice dungeon trial to come out and invite the 4 people with the best results. Chen Han nodded, turned to Zhou Mi and said, Mr. Zhou, please invite the team members to form a team to take the college entrance examination for my little girl. As long as they are willing to team up with my little girl, they can put forward conditions. Zhou Mi shook his fan and said with a smile, this should be very simple. If nothing else, just conquering the quota for level 10's new secret realm is enough to impress people. I'm not afraid they won't agree. Yes. Chen Han nodded. Just as he was about to say something else, he heard a burst of fast footsteps. Then, he saw his staff Guo Hai walking into the living room quickly. Lao Guo, what happened? You are so anxious. Didn't you see that I was discussing something with Mr. Zhou? Chen Han frowned and said with some dissatisfaction. Sorry, I was hasty. Guo Hai smiled and bowed his hands to Zhou Mi, and then said, it's the news about the novice dungeon trial. Mr. Zhou said before that he would report the news as soon as possible, so I took the liberty of reporting it. Come over. That's right. The dissatisfaction in Chen Han's heart dissipated and he asked, is there any news about the novice dungeon trial? It shouldn't be over yet, right? Zhou Mi on the side also turned to look at Guo Hai. Guo Haiken reported. The news came from number 1 and number 2 middle school that 2 freshmen have already cleared the simple level novice dungeon. So fast? Chen Han raised his eyebrows and said, it's only been more than 10 hours. It's 11 hours. Guo Hai replied. Chen Han looked down at Zhou Mi. Zhou Mi looked calm, obviously he had expected it, and said calmly, the 2 freshmen who passed the level should be the 2 hidden professionals. Guo Hai nodded. Mr. Zhou is right. Zhou Mi shook her fan calmly and said gracefully, the results are not much different from what I expected. The 2 of them can complete the level in 11 hours, which is already very good. You can consider inviting them to form a team with Miss Chen. Team college entrance examination. Chen Han nodded, approving Zhou Mi's proposal. Only Guo Hai, who was standing in the hall, had a strange expression. He was stunned for a long time and then said, of the 2 of them, only one of them passed the level in 11 hours. What about the other person? Zhou Mi picked up the teacup and took a sip. 6.6 hours. Guo Han replied. Peeved. What? Zhou Mi spat out a sip of tea. He didn't care that his clothes got wet, and asked quickly. Say it again? Guo Hai had no choice but to repeat. Of these 2 people, Lu Zi took 11 hours to clear the level, while Lin Fei only took 6 hours to clear the level. This is impossible. Zhou Mi said categorically with a serious expression. The beginner's dungeon covers a vast area, and it would take more than 6 hours to walk all the way. Unless he crushes it all the way from beginning to end without stopping, there is no way he can clear the level in only 6 hours. Ms. Chen had 5 level 15 guards helping her, and it took 10 hours. How could he be faster? It took 6 hours to clear the level, which has never happened before in the entire history of Dragon Kingdom. Seeing Zhou Mi's reaction, Guo Hai patiently explained. I don't know the specific situation, but this is the news from the principal of number 1 middle school and number 2 middle school. They shouldn't exaggerate this kind of thing, right? Zhou Mi was silent after hearing this. He frowned while sitting on the chair and shook his head. Although I instinctively felt that such a thing was absolutely impossible. But there is some truth in what Guo Hai said. It is indeed impossible for the principal of number 1 and number 2 middle school to lie. After all, this kind of thing is easy to verify. He fell silent. Chen Han, who was in charge, suddenly suggested, why don't Mr. Zhou go and take a look in person? Hearing is deceptive, Seeing is believing. He was no less surprised than Joe Mi, and he wanted to find out, but he couldn't get away, so he had to let Joe Mi do it for him. That's fine. Joe Mi nodded and agreed. I'll go there in person. If it's a lie, forget it, but if it's true. How? If it is true, we must invite him to take the college entrance examination as a team with your daughter at all costs. Chen Han was silenced by the words, at all costs. He looked sideways and asked for the reason. Joe Mi said solemnly, I have never heard of such a result in clearing the simple level dungeon in 6 hours. I can be 100% sure that he will get very good results in the college entrance examination and be admitted to Longguo Vocational University. If I can team up with such a genius to take the college entrance examination, my daughter-in-law will also benefit from it and have a greater chance of being admitted to Longguo Vocational University. Chen Han slapped his head and thought to himself, how could I have forgotten this incident? The 4 people who formed a team with Lin Shui last year, either because Lin Shui was so good or not, followed Zhang Guang and achieved excellent results, taking the top 5 places in Riverside City in one fell swoop. If my daughter can team up with Lin Fei, her college entrance examination results will definitely be better, and she will be more certain of being admitted to Longguo Vocational University. Chen Han suddenly became enthusiastic and said to Zhou Mi, Mr. Zhou, please pay me a visit. You must pay close attention to Lin Fei. If he is really that powerful, I must invite him and Zihan to team up and take the college entrance examination together. I will agree to whatever conditions are offered. Finally passed the level. Lu Zi walked out of the dungeon entrance with a proud look on his face. It took 11 hours to complete the level. This result has already tied with Lin Shui. No one is faster than yourself. Walking in the dungeon square with long strides, he had a wonderful feeling of standing out from the crowd. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the people in the square and found that they looked at him with strange expressions. Hee. Jealousy must be jealousy. However, you are destined to only look up to me. Lu Zi was in a good mood and went straight to the principal of No. 1 Middle School, waiting for the principal to praise him. However, there was not the lavish praise he expected. Principal Wang of No. 1 Middle School just said in a calm tone, it took 11 hours to clear the level, which is not bad. Keep up the hard work and conquer the ordinary level copy to achieve better results. Not bad? Make persistent efforts? Lu Zi was stunned when he heard this. He glanced at the principal in surprise, thinking that the principal was too happy, so he was confused. I finished the game in 11 hours. Lin Shui only had this result last year. Seeing that Principal Wang had no other reaction, Lu Zi stood up straight and shouted loudly. Don't worry, Principal, I am the fastest to clear the simple level copy, and I will be the fastest to clear the ordinary level copy. His voice was loud and carried throughout the square, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone looked over with strange eyes, and many people were still snickering. Principal Wang suddenly looked embarrassed. Principal Jin next to him could hardly hold back his laughter. Unable to bear to attack this stupid, blindly confident kid, he stood up and walked towards the newly eliminated second-grade middle school students, ready to give them a few words of encouragement. Principal Jin left, and Principal Wang finally spoke. He covered his face and said solemnly, Stop whining, you are not the fastest to clear the simple level dungeon. Lu Zi was stunned. How could anyone beat the level faster than me? He asked in confusion. Then who is the fastest to pass the level? Lin Fei. Who? Lin Fei. Principal Wang repeated in a deep voice. He can clear the simple level dungeon faster than you. When Lu Zi heard this, he felt like he was struck by lightning. He couldn't believe it was true. After being stunned for a long time, he asked with difficulty, how long did it take him? 6 hours. Principal Wang said calmly, how can this be? If he completes the game in 10 hours, I will believe him. Available for 6 hours. Is this something a human can do? Are you sure you're not kidding me? Lu Zi looked at Principal Wang in disbelief, trying to find the flaw in his face for the joke. But Principal Wang nodded with confidence and said, no need to doubt it. I'm not kidding you. Lin Fei did pass the level in only 6 hours. He has already gone to conquer the ordinary level copy. Lu Zi's inner pride was directly shattered by these words. I refuse to accept this fact no matter what. It took me 11 hours to complete the level, while Lin Fei only took 6 hours. Is the gap between us so big? Lu Zi unconsciously took 2 steps back, with deep disappointment on his face. Cheer up. Principal Wang looked at the stricken Lu Zi and thought that this child's ability to withstand blows was too weak. He said dissatisfiedly, "If you lose the simple level copy, you lose. Just win the ordinary level copy again." You put it lightly. What can I win? Lin Fei cleared the simple level dungeon faster than me. He was obviously stronger than me. How could I beat him in the ordinary level dungeon? Lu Zi was not encouraged by the principal's words, but still felt sad. HMPH. Principal Wang snorted coldly, as if he hated iron. So what if Lin Fei surpasses you in the simple level copy? If he conquers the ordinary level copy, he may not have an advantage over you. Lord-type professions may not be useful in the early stages, but they consume more resources as you get to the late stage. Because the attributes of the summoned object itself will not increase as the level increases, the skeleton warriors summoned by level 1 and level 10 have the same combat power. As your level increases and you face higher level monsters, you have to spend more resources to equip the summons to increase the combat power of the summons. Lin Fei cleared the simple level dungeon faster than you. This only shows that the combat power of his summons is stronger than yours. This advantage is useful in the early stage, but in the late stage, the strength of the summoned objects depends entirely on the amount of resources. In this regard, you have the support of the Lu family behind you. Lin Fei, a commoner, is far inferior to you. In other words, the further you get to the late stage, the greater your advantage. As he spoke, Principal Wang took out various equipment and resources that had been prepared and handed them to Lu Zi. These equipment have been prepared for you a long time ago. I didn't give them to you before because I wanted to train you and let you conquer simple level dungeons with your own strength. But it won't work when you reach the ordinary level copy. If you don't spend enough resources to equip skeleton warriors, you won't be able to pass even half of the ordinary level dungeon. No matter how many skeleton warriors there are without equipment to improve their combat power, they are no match for those high-level monsters. With these resources to increase the combat power of the skeleton warriors, your probability of passing the ordinary level copy can reach 50%. Hear this. Lu Zi finally recovered. Yes, how could I forget this? The reason why he was extremely confident before and firmly believed that he must be number 1 and did not take Lin Fei seriously was because the Lord profession consumes the most resources. With the support of his family behind him and enough resources to equip the skeleton warriors, he can continuously improve the strength of the skeleton warriors. But a civilian boy like Lin Fei couldn't afford a huge amount of resources to equip summons, and the gap between him and himself would only widen further. So, even if Lin Fei is better than him in the early stage, he may not be his opponent in the late stage. Principal, I understand. I will not lose to Lin Fei. Lu Zi regained his composure and said solemnly. Principal Wang nodded with satisfaction and said, "Go ahead. After you pass the level, I will help you apply for a place in the new level 10 secret realm from the city. By conquering this new secret realm, you can get generous rewards, which will make you more confident about the college entrance examination." I understand, thank you Principal. Lu Zi nodded, turned and walked towards the entrance of the dungeon, and started to conquer the ordinary level dungeon. It's so boring. Lin Fei sat on the ground, leaning against the big tree, and yawned sleepily. I glanced at the battle taking place not far away, but I wasn't interested at all. I spent 6 hours in the simple level dungeon. I spent another 6 hours in the ordinary level instance. All the monsters were dealt with by the undead ghosts, and I was just a spectator, doing nothing. Anyone with 12 hours of idle time would be as bored as him. Seeing the monsters being killed one by the ghosts of the undead. Lin Fei patted his butt and stood up, stretched, and said in a calm tone, "It's over, let's see if any good things have fallen." His body flashed and he instantly moved to the battlefield where the ghosts of the undead were. Brand silk shoulder pads, level 4 item, not bad, keep it. The Ring of Destruction, a level 4 item, increases strength by 40 points, a good thing, equip it for the ghosts of the dead. Level 2 meat, garbage, no, some picking and choosing. Equip the Ring of Destruction to the undead ghost, and put other interesting things into the backpack space. Keep going. Hurry up and clear the level, Hurry up and conquer the difficult level dungeon. The ordinary level dungeon is not difficult at all. I'm almost bored to death. Lin Fei complained boredly, put his hands behind his back, and walked forward leisurely. Upon seeing this, the undead ghost quickly passed him and opened the way in front. It didn't take long. More than a dozen level 7 monsters came to the door. This was all attracted by the noise from the battle just now. Lin Fei found a big tree at random, jumped up, sat on a thick branch and watched the undead ghosts fighting with more than a dozen monsters. Although I was very confident in the strength of the undead ghosts, after seeing the ferocious attacks of these dozen level 7 monsters, I still couldn't help but sigh. The monsters in the ordinary level dungeon are still very powerful. It was only because of the synthesized undead ghosts that I was able to get here unimpeded, and that's why I found the ordinary level copy to be easy. Without the synthesized undead ghosts, I wouldn't be able to pass the level 5 area, let alone the level 7 area. Don't listen to Lin Fei complaining that the ordinary level copy is too simple. But he knew it very well. The ordinary level dungeon is more difficult than the simple level dungeon. If you don't have unlimited synthesis talent and can't synthesize powerful undead ghosts, it will be impossible to pass the level. Unless a large amount of resources and equipment can be used to increase the combat power of the undead ghosts. But I am from an ordinary background, where can I find so many resources? Lin Fei realized it not long ago. The strength of Lord-type professions relies on the accumulation of resources. Without a large amount of resources to support it, I'm afraid it can't even compare to the general main battle professions. Good thing. He has unlimited synthesized talents and can increase the combat power of the undead ghosts without relying on resources. The monsters in the level 7 area are only that strong. The boss in the level 8 area should be even more terrifying. My sister was able to fight all the way to the level 8 area and fight the boss with her own strength. Even if she lost, it was still very impressive. If you switch to ordinary main battle professions, let alone the level 8 area, even the level 5 and level 6 areas, it will be difficult for them to pass by their own strength. Even if several main combat professionals form a team, it is very difficult to clear the ordinary level dungeon. Lin Fei shook his head and sighed. If I didn't have infinite synthetic talent, I might not be any better than these people. Kill level 7 social monsters, experience plus 80, kill level 7 collector, experience plus 95. Kill level 7 two-headed baby, experience plus 90, lines of experience increasing prompts appear. Lin Fei looked up and saw that more than a dozen monsters had been wiped out by strangulation of the undead ghosts. Promoted to level 7. Lin Fei smiled as he watched the experience bar increase to 100% again. Name: Lin Fei. Occupation: Undead Lord, only. Level: 7, 0.00%, Life: 80, Strength: 90, Agility: 75. Mana: 90, Equipment: none, Backpack space: 40/55. Army: Undead Ghost. As the level increases, more arms can be unlocked. Skills: Teleportation, Bone Spurs, Summoning Undead Ghosts. Teleportation: consume 10 mana points to instantly move 400 meters in the specified direction. Bone Spurs: consumes 30 mana points to summon Bone Spurs from the ground to attack the enemy, causing physical damage to the target. Summon the Undead Ghost: spend 10 mana points to summon an undead ghost. Talent: Infinite Synthesis. Synthesize any number and type of items and summons to obtain items with corresponding random abilities and corresponding random levels. Still the same. After the upgrade, the 4-dimensional attributes have increased a lot, and the equipment space has also been expanded by 15 units. The power of teleportation and Bone Spurs increases as the level increases. Of course, the mana that Lin Fei is most concerned about has also been increased to 90 points, which means that he can summon 9 undead ghosts at one time. Summon the ghosts of the dead. Without any hesitation, Lin Fei spent 90 points of mana to summon 9 undead ghosts. We are about to break out of the level 7 area and face the level 8 boss. The combat power of the undead ghosts still needs to be improved a bit. Put 10 undead ghosts into the backpack space. Lin Fei used unlimited synthesis talent to synthesize. Black Iron level Undead Ghost. Life. 260, Strength. 270 plus 40. Agility. 330, Mana. 230, Equipment. Phantom Belt, Ring of Destruction. Skill. Strengthen. Strengthen. Consume 50 mana points to double the attack power for 30 seconds. Cooling time 1 hour. After the upgrade, the Undead Ghost's own strength reaches 270. Coupled with the 40 points of strength added by the Ring of Destruction, the strength reaches a terrifying 310. This is comparable to an ordinary level 10 monster. It should be no problem to deal with a level 8 dungeon boss. Lin Fei nodded with satisfaction. After collecting the items dropped by the monsters on the battlefield into the backpack space, head deeper into the level 7 area again. Speed up and clear the ordinary level copy within 2 hours. On the copy square. 12 hours into the novice dungeon trial, a group of number 1 middle school students who entered in advance passed the simple level dungeon. After another 2 hours, the student groups from number 2 middle school also passed the level one after another. These groups are composed of 2 or 3 main combat professionals. It takes 12 hours to clear the level. After completing the level, most of them are at level 2, and only a few are promoted to level 3. This is how it is to clear the level in a group. Although it will be easier for several people to conquer the dungeon together, the experience in the dungeon will be equally divided among several people, and the promotion speed will be very slow. Fortunately, it only took 12 hours to clear the level for the first time. Next, they will non-stop enter the simple level copy again for the second brush. The second clearing of a simple level dungeon will take much less time than the first clearing. Basically, you can be promoted to level 3 after clearing the level. On the first day of the novice copy trial, I was promoted to level 3, which already met the school's requirements. In the next 6 days, if you continue to refresh the novice copy and raise your level to level 8 or above before the college entrance examination, you will have a good chance of being admitted to a higher education institution. Of course, if you can advance to level 9 or level 10 in 1 week, you will have the opportunity to enter the top 100 prestigious schools. The two principals of number 1 middle school and number 2 middle school are quite satisfied with the results of these people. However, the two of them mainly focused on Lin Fei and Lu Zi, 2 hidden professionals. Swish. 2 streams of light fell into the copy square. Many people looked up. Jinda also noticed the movement behind him and thought that it was already this time. How could anyone still come to the dungeon square? Then he turned around and glanced. Mr. Zhou, Master Guo? Jinda groaned and quickly stood up to greet him. Upon hearing this, Principal Wang also turned to look, then quickly stood up and followed. Zhou Mi, Guo Hai. Both principals are no strangers. The former is said to be a teacher specially invited by the city lord from an institution of higher learning to teach Chen Zihan. Previously, the city lord ordered a dozen of their high schools to free up a novice copy for Chen Zihan to use. The one who came to deliver the order was Zhou Mi, so he had seen it before. The latter, Guo Hai, was the city lord's confidant, and he was extremely familiar with him. However, if they are not teaching Chen Zihan over there, why are they here with us? The two principals looked at each other, both confused. Mr. Zhou, Master Guo, I apologize for being so far away from you, but I didn't tell you in advance why I came. Principal Wang is much older than Jinda and has a good relationship with Guo Hai, so he was the first to speak. There, you should not blame us two for disturbing them. They were friends for more than 10 years, and Guo Hai was also very polite. Then, under the guidance of Principal Wang, several people came to the rest area and sat down on their seats. Principal Wang was thinking about Chen Zihan and asked Guo Hai familiarly, Master Guo, how is Chen Zihan's novice dungeon trial going? With your guidance, it should go smoothly. Not bad. Master Guo nodded and smiled. I have already cleared the simple level dungeon, and I am currently clearing the ordinary level dungeon. I estimate that I will clear it soon. With the help of 5 guards, it's easy to get a difficult level dungeon. Hear the words. Jinda and Principal Wang looked at each other. They all saw envy in each other's eyes. They had known for a long time that the city lord asked them to free up a novice copy just for their daughter to use alone. I heard that 5 level 15 guards were arranged to help her clear the level and level up. With such a one-stop service, even if you are a professional in life, you can clear the simple level dungeon, ordinary level dungeon, and difficult level dungeon in succession, and be promoted to level 10. It is indeed enviable. With envy, they all wanted to do the same for the students in number 1 and number 2 middle schools. Your college entrance examination scores will definitely improve a lot. But this is just thinking about it in my heart. This method of helping new career changers to quickly upgrade is expressly prohibited. The city lord did it to his daughter in private, and no one dared to say anything. But if they dare to follow suit and do it blatantly, it will definitely cause an uproar. Removal will be easy at that time. Moreover, the disadvantages of this upgrade method are also obvious. Promotion comes so quickly and easily. Failure to fully develop the potential of job transferees will cause damage to the foundation. If the foundation is damaged, future achievements will inevitably be affected. This is why it is expressly prohibited. But if the city lord dares to do this to his daughter, he probably has a solution. But they don't have the ability. Principal Wang put aside his distracting thoughts and said a few words of flattery with a smile. Chen Zihan successfully passed the customs. It is really gratifying and congratulatory. I think it won't be a problem to be promoted to level 12 before the college entrance examination. Chen Zihan is also a student of number 1 middle school. Of course, Principal Wang was sincerely happy that she could get good grades. It should be no problem. Master Guo nodded and said, after the novice copy trial is over, Miss Chen will go to the new level 10 secret realm outside the city. If everything goes well, promotion to level 12 should be a certainty. When Principal Wang heard this, his thoughts changed. He also has ideas for this new level 10 secret realm. To conquer the new secret realm in level 10, Chen Zihan definitely cannot do it alone, so he must form a team to conquer it. Therefore, he had long wanted to find a place for Lu Zi. I just didn't know if it was feasible, so I asked tentatively, Master Guo, I wonder if there is still a shortage of people in Ms. Chen's new secret realm level 10. I am an old face and want to find a place for Lu Zi. Master Guo did not speak, but looked at Zhou Mi, which meant that Zhou Mi had the final say on this matter. Zhou Mi nodded happily and said, okay. Thank you very much. Principal Wang thanked him repeatedly. He raised the corner of his mouth again and glanced at Principal Jin proudly, meaning, do you have the dignity to ask for a place for Lin Fei? Principal Jin had no expression on his face, and he smiled gloomily in his heart. He had just been the vice principal for less than a year, and he had no friendship with Master Guo. He really didn't have such a big reputation. Seeing that Jinda didn't speak, Principal Wang felt relieved, thinking, I finally gained some face by overpowering you. But the pride didn't last for a while. Zhou Mi turned to look at Principal Jin and asked, Principal Jin, I heard that Lin Fei, a hidden professional in number 2 middle school, cleared the simple level dungeon in only 6 hours. I don't know if it's true or not. Of course it's true. Principal Jin straightened up, nodded and said, we all saw it with our own eyes, and Principal Wang can also testify. There is no need to testify, I will naturally believe you. Zhou Mi waved his fan lightly and smiled at Jinda. The city lord also heard about this, so he specially sent us to take a look. No wonder he suddenly visited, it turned out to be to see Lin Fei. And it was also the instruction of the lord of the city. Principal Wang's heart sank and he glanced at Jinda slightly jealously. Jinda wiped away his previous depression and felt happy in his heart, but he still said modestly, it's all a fluke. I don't know what the results of conquering the ordinary level dungeon will be. Haha, you can clear the simple level dungeon in 6 hours, and there will be no problem in conquering the ordinary level dungeon. Zhou Mi said with a smile. Mr. Zhou has received the award. It's hard to say anything. Jinda waved his hand, remaining humble. Principal Wang looked on with cold eyes, thinking that seeing you pretending to be so humble, in fact, he must have been happy for a long time. I couldn't help but want to say something sarcastic. But he recalled that he had bragged before and was beaten hard in the face by Jinda. He still felt embarrassed, so he swallowed the words that came to his lips. Just sneered in my heart. Lin Fei is really good at conquering the simple level dungeon, I have nothing to say about it. But if you want to clear the ordinary level copy, it's not that simple. Without spending a lot of resources to increase the combat power of the summoned objects, no matter how many there are, it will be impossible to pass the level. Lin Fei, a civilian boy, could not have so many resources. So, when it comes to conquering the ordinary level dungeon, Lu Zi's advantage is obvious. He can definitely win back the victory in the ordinary level dungeon. Principal Jin is so humble. Zhou Mi shook his fan and said with a smile, I have been teaching at Zhongnan Vocational University for so many years, and I have never met a student as outstanding as Lin Fei. He will definitely have no problem clearing the ordinary level copy of Mr. Zhou's blessing. Jin De smiled and handed over his hand. In fact, he was very confident in Lin Fei. By the way, Zhou Mi closed his fan and continued, if Lin Fei is interested, I can give him a spot in the new level 10 secret realm. Jin De was flattered and quickly replied, thank you so much, Mr. Zhou. Everyone knows that clearing level 10 of the new secret realm for the first time will receive generous rewards. Otherwise, Principal Wang would not be so shameless as to ask for a spot for Lu Zi. Principal Jin also wanted to find a place for Lin Fei. But he knew that he didn't have enough friendship with Guo Hai to open his mouth. Now Zhou Mi actually offered to give Lin Fei a quota, so there was no reason not to agree. Zhou Mi was not surprised by Jin De's reaction and said with a smile, don't rush to agree. It's better to wait for Lin Fei to come out and ask his opinion before agreeing. Anyway, I will keep the quota for him. No problem, no problem. Principal Jin was so happy that he couldn't agree more. Then he glanced proudly at the livid Principal Wang from the corner of his eye. The meaning couldn't be more obvious, so what? Now Lin Fei also got a quota, and it was given by Mr. Zhou on his own initiative. Principal Wang was naturally angered by Jin De's triumphant appearance. He lowered his face and asked for a place for Lu Zi. Jin De did nothing, but Zhou Mi took the initiative to give Lin Fei a spot and promised to keep it for him. It's really irritating to see people compare to each other. Principal Wang's already bad mood only worsened. Principal Wang, Principal Wang. Principal Wang reacted to the careful voice in his ears and said quickly, Mr. Zhou, please speak. Is the Lu Zi you mentioned just now the hidden professional in your #1 middle school? Zhou Mi asked with a smile. Exactly. Principal Wang nodded. I wonder how he fares in the novice copy trial. Zhou Mi continued to ask. Principal Wang glanced at Jin De cryptically and said in a calm tone, he spent 11 hours to clear the simple level dungeon, and now he is clearing the ordinary level dungeon alone. With Lin Feijuyu in front of him, Lu Zi's performance obviously faded a lot, and even Principal Wang couldn't speak forcefully. Zhou Mi smiled, nodded, and said, that's pretty good. There's hope in clearing the ordinary level dungeon. That's what Mr. Zhou said. Principal Wang nodded, feeling even more depressed. Lin Fei would definitely be fine if he passed the customs. When he got to Lu Zi, he became hopeful. The gap was probably too big. Zhou Mi didn't know about Principal Wang's psychological changes. After saying this, he shook his fan and stopped talking. In fact, he had already known about Lin Fei and Lu Zi's situation. The reason why I ask this is to show my concern for them. Then it would be logical for me to invite them to team up with Chen Zihan for the college entrance examination later. However, there is no rush to mention the matter of forming a team for the college entrance examination. It's not too late to see how the two of them have cleared the ordinary level copy. In simple level copy, it took Xu Wei 14 hours to finally reach the level 4 area. Currently fighting against the dungeon boss Ghost Leopard. Damn, this Ghost Leopard is too fast. He rushed over before I even opened my bow. Xu Wei scolded while dodging the Ghost Leopard that had already rushed forward. Taking advantage of the missed opportunity with the Ghost Leopard, quickly distance yourself from it. Then he quickly opened his bow, aimed at the Ghost Leopard, and shot it with an arrow. Pity. The Ghost Leopard moved too fast and easily dodged the arrow. Damn it. Xu Wei cursed secretly. Seeing the Ghost Leopard charging towards him again, he quickly dragged his fat body to avoid it. Finally, he was able to distance himself from the Ghost Leopard. Xu Wei gritted his teeth. It won't work if I can't figure out the trick. You forced me to do this. Make up one's mind. Xu Wei put the long bow in his backpack into the space of his backpack, and took out a fiery red long bow with many patterns and inscriptions carved on the bow. Take one of my moves and hit it with every shot. Shu Wei stretched his bow and knocked an arrow, consuming 10 mana points and using his skill with perfect accuracy. Then there was a whoosh. A stream of flame shot out from his hand and flew straight towards the ghost leopard. The ghost leopard feels threatened and wants to hide. But the bow and arrow seem to have eyes. No matter how hard it tried to hide, it could lock onto his position. Laugh. The ghost leopard was hit in the lower abdomen and fell to the ground with a scream. Haha, it's done. Shu Wei looked at the ghost leopard that was no longer moving and walked over in a swaggering manner. Come forward. Finding that the ghost leopard was still struggling to its death, Shu Wei snorted coldly, drew his bow and drew an arrow. You are so tenacious, then I will give you one last ride. Armor-breaking arrow. Use the skill and shoot an arrow on the ghost leopard's head. The head of the ghost leopard exploded instantly and turned into a headless corpse. Kill level 4 boss ghost leopard, experience plus 600. After receiving the reminder of increasing experience, Shu Wei looked at the attribute panel happily and said to himself happily, I finally cleared the level and was promoted to level 4. I cleared the simple level dungeon by myself. I'm really proud of it when I go back, haha. Adding up the entire first to second level, there will be no more than 10 people who can clear the level in a single brush. Entering the top 10 in one fell swoop. Shu Wei, who has been working as a crane tailman for 3 years, of course has to show off. Of course, he would definitely not even mention the fact that he was forced to use the holy fire bow to kill the dungeon boss, otherwise it would be too cheap. Put the level 4 mana recovery potion dropped by the ghost leopard into the backpack space. Shu Wei was sent out of the copy square. As soon as Shu Wei came out, he saw a crowd of people in the square. Some were having heated discussions, while others were sitting cross-legged to recover. Many of them are main combat professionals. He couldn't help but be surprised. So many people cleared the level earlier than me? Then react. Oh, by the way, they all teamed up to conquer simple level dungeons. That's why he cleared the level earlier than me. This is nothing. I just cleared the level by playing alone. I can't find 10 people in the first and second class who are better than me. Shu Wei held his head high and was extremely proud. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of Liang Jia sitting cross-legged in a corner to recover. He held his head high and strode towards Liang Jia. Have you cleared the level? As soon as he came closer, he heard Liang Jia say something without raising his eyelids. Although it is a question, the tone is very affirmative. Shu Wei was startled by her, thinking that her perception was too keen. Then he held his head high and replied proudly, of course. Clear the level in one go. Then he lowered his head and said with a playful smile, I didn't expect the eldest sister to have such confidence in me. Haha. Liang Jia opened her eyes and sneered. I don't have confidence in you. I have confidence in the holy fire bow. When I came here in the morning, I heard that the guild's holy fire bow was bought. I guessed that it was bought by you. If you still can't pass the level with the holy fire bow, you might as well kill yourself with a piece of tofu. Shu Hui's face turned red. He originally planned to hide the holy fire bow link and brag about clearing the simple level dungeon in one go. Unexpectedly, Liang Jia already knew about this. He scratched his head in embarrassment and said with a sneer on his face, Hey, eldest sister is really good at knowing things, I admire her. However, our small family only bought the holy fire bow by selling everything. It cannot compare to a wealthy family like my eldest sister. I heard that the eldest sister went to the guild yesterday and bought 3 high-level long swords in one go, including the golden shungwi. That's right. Liang Jia nodded happily. However, these are all prepared for the ordinary level dungeon. I have no use at all in the simple level dungeon. Hee. Shu Wei laughed dryly and flattered Liang Jia. The eldest sister is so powerful. I used the holy fire bow when I cleared the level, but I couldn't clear the level faster than the eldest sister. I'm only an hour ahead of you, Liang Jia said calmly, not caring at all. That's pretty awesome. Shu Wei gave a thumbs up and said, in the entire number 1 middle school and number 2 middle school, except Fei Zhe and Lu Zi from number 1 middle school, there should be no one who can clear the level faster than the eldest sister. Liang Jia suddenly looked strange when she heard this and did not answer. Shu Wei had no choice but to change the topic. Why didn't the elder sister go to conquer the ordinary level dungeon? Waiting for you to clear the customs, Liang Jia replied. Ah, why are you waiting for me? Shu Wei scratched his head in confusion. Liang Jia raised her head and glanced at this idiot. She didn't know whether he was really stupid or pretending to be stupid, and said calmly, waiting for you to form a team together. Oh, that's right. Shu Wei finally realized it and said with a smile, I thought the eldest sister wanted to clear the ordinary level copy alone. I am self-aware. Liang Jia replied calmly. Even with the Golden Holy Glory, it is impossible for me to clear the ordinary level copy alone. So, let's just stop wasting time and just form a team to pass the level. What the elder sister said makes sense. Shu Wei nodded in response. Then let's form a team to pass the level together. Speaking of teaming up, Lin Fei's figure appeared in Shu Hui's mind. I looked around but didn't see Lin Fei. Then he asked Liang Jia. Brother Fei went to clear the ordinary level dungeon alone? Liang Jia had complicated eyes and nodded without saying anything. When Shu Wei got the affirmative answer, he couldn't help but admire. Brother Fei is Brother Fei. It's hard for us mortals to compare. Liang Jia heard this and said contemptuously. Lin Fei is not here. You should wait for him to come out and then flatter him in front of him. How can this be flattery? Shu Wei became anxious and explained. These are my words from the bottom of my heart. Liang Jia looked unbelieving. Hearing Shu Wei change the topic again, he acted as if he had been advised to eat enough. But what the eldest sister said makes sense. I will keep these heartfelt words in my heart for now, and I will speak out again after Brother Fei comes out. Liang Jia was even more contemptuous. Shu Wei said nonchalantly. It should have been 2 or 3 hours since Fei Zhe entered the ordinary level dungeon, right? Let's go to the ordinary level dungeon now. Maybe we can come out at the same time as Fei Zhe. Liang Jia had a complicated look on her face, lowered her eyelids, and said softly. It's been 8 hours since the ordinary level copy of Lin Fei's strategy guide. What? Shu Wei thought he heard wrongly. The ordinary level copy of Lin Fei's guide has been available for 8 hours. Liang Jia repeated it again. Have you been there for 8 hours? After Shu Wei confirmed that he heard correctly, his head short-circuited and he was a little confused. He was stunned for a while. After he came back to his senses, he scratched his head and said, Don't talk yet. My head is a little messy right now. Let me sort it out. Then he clapped his fingers and muttered, Brother Fei and I went in front and back. I spent a total of 14 hours in the simple level dungeon, and Fei Zhe spent the same amount of time. Brother Fei has been in the ordinary level dungeon for 8 hours, doesn't that mean? Brother Fei only took 6 hours to clear the simple level dungeon. Shu Wei, who finally understood, was once again stunned. I can't believe this is true. He looked at Liang Jia eagerly, and when he saw Liang Jia slowly nodding, he was finally convinced. Fei Zhe really needed 6 hours to clear the simple level dungeon. This is too awesome. I worked hard all the way, even using the holy fire bow, and it took me 14 hours to clear the level. Brother Fei is actually more than twice as fast as me. If you are so awesome, can you still let people live? Shu Wei opened his mouth so wide in surprise that he could put down a duck egg. Liang Jia sat there, not surprised at all by Shu Hui's reaction. When she heard about Lin Fei's results, she was no less surprised than Shu Wei. Although she has never had any intention of comparing with Lin Fei. But after learning that the gap between the two was so big, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Lin Fei's results were really amazing. His brilliance was enough to overshadow everyone present. But this is different from Liang Jia. Shu Wei didn't feel much disappointed except for being surprised. Instead, after being surprised, he was so excited that he danced with joy. Brother Fei is so awesome. I'm so impressed. Complete the simple level dungeon in 6 hours. This has set a new record in Riverside City's history. Hey, with Brother Fei here this year, those brats from number 1 middle school can't even think of surpassing us from number 2 middle school. The first place this year will definitely be from our number 2 middle school. Shu Wei was jumping with excitement. The rough and arrogant voice spread around, attracting many people to stare angrily. But Shu Wei didn't care at all about these people's reactions, and even responded arrogantly. The students from number 1 middle school turned their heads when they met Shu Hui's eyes, not looking at him. It took Lu Zi a full 11 hours to clear the simple level dungeon, while Lin Fei only took 6 hours. The gap is so big that they can't be tough at all. Shu Wei was like a big victorious rooster, and said with a proud look on his face, "Brother Fei has been in the ordinary level dungeon for 8 hours. By this time, he might have reached the boss, or even be about to defeat the boss and pass the level." Liang Jia pursed her lips. Although there is no doubt that Lin Fei has the ability to clear the ordinary level copy alone. But the ordinary level dungeon is much more difficult than the simple level dungeon. Liang Jia didn't believe that Lin Fei could clear the simple level dungeon in such a short time. But she was not sure of her judgment. After all, before coming to the dungeon square, who would have thought that Lin Fei could clear the simple level dungeon in just 6 hours? A miracle might happen to Lin Fei again. Therefore, she just replied in a nonchalant manner, "You really have confidence in him?" "Of course." Shu Wei said proudly, "Brother Fei is so powerful, there must be no problem." As if to confirm Shu Hui's words, the next second, Lin Fei's figure appeared in the dungeon square. Lin Fei? Why did he come out at this time? Did the customs clearance fail? Liang Jia was stunned for a moment when she saw Lin Fei appearing at the entrance of the copy. Instinctively, I felt that it had only been 8 hours since Lin Fei came out, so he must have failed to clear the level. After all, in just 8 hours, others couldn't even clear the simple level dungeon. How could Lin Fei clear the ordinary level dungeon in such a short time? But then I thought that Lin Fei only took 6 hours to clear the simple level dungeon. I couldn't help but feel a little shaken in my heart. Can he really do it and clear the ordinary level copy in only 8 hours? Liang Jia's head was in a mess. Shu Wei on the side didn't think much. Seeing Lin Fei's figure, he said excitedly to Liang Jia, "Sister, did you see that Brother Fei has really cleared the level? Now you believe me?" Liang Jia glanced at him and suspected that this guy's mouth might have been opened. He had just finished saying that Lin Fei was going to come out of the copy, and then Lin Fei really came out of the copy. It was so accurate. Seeing Shu Wei dancing with excitement, Liang Jia distanced herself in disgust, not wanting to be embarrassed by standing with him. Others in the square also noticed Lin Fei coming out of the copy. The originally bustling square fell silent for an instant. Everyone looked at Lin Fei. There is curiosity, wonder, and doubt in the eyes. The shadow of a famous tree. The fact that Lin Fei cleared the simple level dungeon in 6 hours has long been spread to everyone's ears. Now, within a few hours of seeing Lin Fei, he actually came out of the ordinary level copy again. Each of them is as curious as Liang Jia. Did Lin Fei fail to clear the level or come out successfully? If it was the latter, then Lin Fei was too perverted. Being watched by so many people, Lin Fei's expression was unnatural, and he was obviously not used to it. He walked quickly in the direction of Principal Jin, and everyone on the road made way for him. The 4 people in the rest area naturally noticed Lin Fei coming out of the copy, and all looked at Lin Fei. Jinda stood up even more excitedly, but after the other 3 people looked over, he realized that he had lost his composure and sat down slowly. But my heart is still not at peace, just like Liang Jia. He also suspected that Lin Fei failed to clear the customs. After all, it takes 8 hours to clear the ordinary level dungeon, which is really an exaggeration. But at the same time, there is still some hope in my heart. I hope Lin Fei successfully clears the level and comes out. That would be great. The complicated emotions made Principal Jin extremely uneasy, anxiously waiting for Lin Fei to come over and give him the answer. Principal Wang on the side could see Jinda's anxiety. He looked at Lin Fei again and thought that he must have failed to clear the level. Clear the ordinary level copy in 8 hours. This is simply impossible. Even if Lin Fei spent a lot of resources to equip summons, he still couldn't do it. But forgot. Lin Fei thought the same way when he cleared the simple level dungeon in 6 hours. Wait until Lin Fei comes closer. Principal Jin asked nervously. Have you cleared the level? Yes. Lin Fei nodded calmly and said, "Passed the level." After that, open the properties panel and the level above has been upgraded to level 8. Okay. 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 Principal Jin felt a big stone fall in his heart. He said 3 good words in a row and was so excited that he couldn't help himself. I really passed the level successfully, cleared the ordinary level copy in 8 hours. I can't even think about it. I thought it would be good if Lin Fei could clear the ordinary level copy, and it would be normal for him to take more time. Unexpectedly, Lin Fei gave himself such a big surprise. Ordinary level dungeons are more difficult than simple level dungeons. For more than 10 years, no one has been able to clear the level alone. But Lin Fei didn't just clear the level by playing alone. It only took 8 hours. It's really scary. Principal Jin was so excited that he couldn't say a word. He seemed to have seen Lin Fei shine in the college entrance examination and be admitted to Longguo Vocational University. I wonder if I can follow Lin Fei and get promoted to the next level. Principal Jin was so excited that he could not help himself, but Principal Wang next to him looked like he had seen a ghost. I never expected that Lin Fei actually successfully passed the level. Clear the ordinary level copy in 8 hours. What this means, no one knows better than him. This achievement has surpassed Lin Shui. Getting admitted to Longguo Vocational University is a sure thing. The number 1 freshman in Riverside City this year must be him. Think of this. Principal Wang has completely lost the courage to let Lu Zi and Lin Fei compete. It can't be compared at all. The 2 Lu Zis combined were no match for Lin Fei. At the same time, deep doubts arose in my heart. Lin Fei was able to clear the level in 8 hours. He must have used a lot of resources to increase the combat power of his summons to an incredible level. But where did Lin Fei, a civilian boy, get so many resources and equipment summons? Even if Jinda is willing to go bankrupt and fully support him, he can't do this, right? Principal Wang looked at Lin Fei and then at Jinda, his eyes full of confusion. However, no matter what the reason is, the number 1 middle school may be outclassed by the number 2 middle school again this year. Principal Wang sighed in his heart. How could he be so unlucky to meet such a pair of perverted siblings, who pushed number 1 middle school to 2nd place for 2 consecutive years? After Zhou Mi and Guo Hai saw Lin Fei's attribute panel, they looked at each other and saw shock in each other's eyes. When they learned that Lin Fei had cleared the simple level dungeon in 6 hours, they had no doubt that Lin Fei had the ability to clear the ordinary level dungeon. But I never expected that it only took Lin Fei 8 hours to clear the ordinary level copy. 8 hours. Is this still something humans can do? Chen Zihan had 5 level 15 guards to help him cheat, but they couldn't do this. What a monster. Zhou Mi looked Lin Fei up and down and made a decision in his heart. No matter what the cost, Lin Fei and Chen Zihan must be invited to team up to take the college entrance examination. Being able to team up with a monster like Lin Fei to take the college entrance examination, Chen Zihan has a great chance of being admitted to Longguo Vocational University even if he only has an ordinary main battle profession. Lin Fei didn't know that the 4 people who were calm on the surface had already stirred up troubles in their hearts. After hearing Principal Jin say 3 good words in a row, he just smiled and said in a calm tone. It's just a little faster than others to clear the level, it's no big deal. Not arrogant or impatient, very good. The more Jinda looked at Lin Fei, the more satisfied he became. He was really lucky to meet such a student. Zhou Mi on the side shook his fan and said with a smile. You are so self-effacing. You are not a little faster than others. It may not be possible for others to pass the level if it takes you 2 or 3 times the time. Lin Fei had long noticed Zhou Mi and Guo Hai beside him. I know that those who can sit with the 2 principals are definitely not simple people. It's just that I have never seen them before, and I don't know them at all. Then he looked at Principal Jin. Principal Jin quickly explained to him. This is Mr. Zhou Mijo, a famous teacher at Jiangnan Vocational University and a guest of the Lord City Lord. The man next to you is Mr. Guo, the Lord's secret friend. Lin Fei then bowed and said politely, Mr. Zhou, Master Guo. Zhou Mi nodded in agreement with a smile, and then said, a new level 10 secret realm was discovered outside the city. It has been ordered to be guarded by the City Lord and is to be reserved for outstanding freshmen in Riverside City this year. The number of places is limited. I wonder what you want. If you don't want to participate, we can allocate a spot to you at that time. New level 10 secret realm? Lin Fei was stunned for a moment. It was the first time he heard about this and he didn't react for a while. But when I saw Principal Jin on the side, he kept winking at me, as if to say promise him, promise him. Lin Fei reacted, nodded and said, I want to participate. Okay. I will reserve a place for you and will notify you specifically when the time comes. Zhou Mi nodded with satisfaction, saying that the first step of inviting Lin Fei was successfully completed. Thank you, Mr. Zhou. Lin Fei expressed his gratitude. He also knows that if you clear Secret Realm for the first time, you will receive generous rewards, so this spot must be rare. Jinda was already smiling from ear to ear, and said to Lin Fei, go and take a rest quickly, and prepare to try to conquer the difficult level dungeon. The ordinary level copy can be cleared in 8 hours. Of course you have to try the hard level dungeon. What if I pass the level? Then Lin Fei will be the first person in the history of Riverside City to clear the difficult level dungeon. This is definitely worth recording in the school history of number 2 middle school. Lin Fei nodded. After bowing, he exited the rest area. When everyone outside the rest area saw Lin Fei coming out, they all made way for Lin Fei, their faces full of admiration. After Lin Fei left, the chatter began. Did you hear that? Lin Fei really cleared the ordinary level dungeon in 8 hours. 8 hours, I really can't even think about it. Let alone 8 hours, if I can clear the ordinary level dungeon in 18 hours, it will be like smoke rising from the ancestral graves. If I remember correctly, Lin Fei should be the first person in more than 10 years to clear a simple level dungeon in one go. It's so amazing. I can only look up to this kind of person, and I don't even have the intention to chase him. Lin Fei is from our second middle school. This year our second middle school can beat the first one and win the first place. The people in this category are not good either. They were not as good as Lin Shui last year, and they are not as good as Lin Fei this year. I also heard that Lin Fei got a spot to conquer the new secret realm of level 10. I'm jealous, I want it too. Don't think about it. Didn't you hear that the places are scarce? No matter how round it is, we can't get it. Only people of Lin Fei's level can get it. Lin Fei ignored the heated discussions behind him. After leaving the rest area, there was no rest, or no rest at all. After all, in the dungeon, all the undead ghosts were fighting all the time, and he himself had basically no contribution, and was even bored out of his mind. But, although there is no need to rest, there are still other things to deal with. Backpack space is full. If you conquer the difficult level dungeon, you will definitely get a lot of items. Now I need to take out the things in the backpack space and replace them with what I need. Think so. Lin Fei came to a rest area in the northeast corner of the dungeon square. In addition to the principal of number 1 and number 2 middle school, the dean of students and many teachers also came to the dungeon square. Naturally, it was impossible for them to sit together with the two principals. They all gathered in the rest area in the northeast corner. See Lin Fei coming over. The dean of number 2 middle school quickly stood up to greet Lin Fei. He had already guessed Lin Fei's intention of coming over. Students who conquer the ordinary level dungeon can more or less obtain items dropped by some monsters. Most of these items are of little use to them and need to be sold and replaced with what they need. But the guild can be outside the dungeon square, and students can't run around here and there. Therefore, the teaching director is responsible for taking the items they harvest to the guild and exchanging them for gold coins or the equipment they need. This must be the reason why Lin Fei came to look for him. The dean came over and said with a smile on his face, Lin Fei, you must have gained a lot from the ordinary level dungeon. Lin Fei nodded. Teacher's guess is correct. Then take out the things you harvested one by one from the backpack space. Brocade shoulder pads, scarred claws, demon catching incense. A total of 58 items, covering the entire table. The dean saw so many items that Lin Liang was interested in. Although I had expected it, I was still surprised. In the ordinary level dungeon of the General Student Team Guide, if one person can harvest 5 or 6 items, it is already very good, and some may not even harvest one. And the items they harvest are all at level 1 or level 2, with the highest level not exceeding level 3. Lin Fei not only took out 50 or 60 items, but none of them were lower than level 4, and there were even 3 level 5 items. It's really incomparable. Lin Fei's harvest alone can equal dozens of them. The last person who could achieve this level was Lin Shui last year. As expected of siblings, all of them are so powerful. The dean sighed in his heart, then looked at Lin Fei and asked, "Are all these things going to be sold? Are you going to keep a few for your own use?" Lin Fei shook his head and replied, "I have kept everything that is suitable for my use. These are all unused, so sell them all." "Okay." The dean nodded, mentally evaluated it, and said, "These things are at least level 4. If we sell them all, we can sell them for at least tens of thousands of gold coins. Do you need anything? I can buy it for you." Lin Fei was surprised by the tens of thousands of gold coins. He didn't expect these things to be so valuable. He really made a fortune now. After thinking about it carefully, he replied, "Then please ask the teacher to help me replace them all with mana recovery potions." Knowing that he would gain more in the difficult level dungeon, Lin Fei spent the gold coins without mercy. "Replace all of them with mana recovery potions?" The teaching director glanced at Lin Fei doubtfully and asked again, "Are you sure? Don't you need other equipment?" "Okay." Lin Fei nodded. "Okay, I'll help you replace them all with mana recovery potions." Seeing Lin Fei's insistence, the teaching director said nothing. After agreeing, he added, "It takes about 2 hours for my guild to make a round trip. You can take this time to take a good rest." Lin Fei shook his head and said, "I'm not in a hurry. Just give it to me when I come out of the difficult level dungeon." "Are you going to conquer the difficult level dungeon now? How many hours have you not rested?" Lin Fei, the teaching director, answered in surprise. He knew that after Lin Fei cleared the simple level dungeon, he would go on to clear the ordinary level dungeon non-stop. "Now that I have just come out of the ordinary level dungeon, I am going to conquer the hard level dungeon again." How can young people be so energetic without taking a break? Lin Fei smiled and shook his head. "Thank you, teacher, for caring. I don't need to rest." "Okay then." The teaching director didn't know what to say, so he spread his hands and said, "I will prepare the things you want before you come out of the difficult level dungeon." "Thank you, teacher." Lin Fei thanked him and left here. Just walked a few steps. Then they saw Fatty Shu trotting over in a hurry, and not far behind him was Liang Jia, who was following him unhurriedly. "Brother Fei." Fatty Shu yelled and trotted over, wanting to give Lin Fei a bear hug. Lin Fei was agile and got out of the way in an instant. Fatty Shu missed the target and almost fell into the mud. Lin Fei stood on the left side, glared at Fatty Shu who had finally regained his balance, and said helplessly, "There are so many people in the square, what are you doing?" "Hee, isn't this just to express my excitement?" Fatty Shu came up to him and smiled nonchalantly. "We have only been separated for more than 10 hours, and we are not reunited after a long separation. What can you be excited about?" Lin Fei rolled his eyes at him and said, "Of course I'm excited." Fatty Shu said solemnly, "Brother Fei has achieved such good results, not only me, but everyone in number 2 middle school is honored." "Is it that exaggerated?" Lin Fei said with a smile. "It's not an exaggeration at all." Fatty Shu said word for word. "It takes 6 hours to clear the simple level dungeon, and 8 hours to clear the ordinary level dungeon. If I hadn't seen this achievement with my own eyes, I wouldn't have dared to think so. So amazing, Brother Fei, listen carefully. There are so many people in the square, and most of them are praising you for your awesomeness." Shu Wei said and pointed to the people in the square who were discussing heatedly. Lin Fei didn't take it seriously and didn't want to discuss this topic anymore, so he quickly changed the subject and said, "How are your results? Have you passed the simple level dungeon?" "That's necessary." Fatty Shu nodded proudly with his chest raised, and scratched his head shyly and said, "Of course, compared to Brother Fei, I'm definitely far behind. It took me 14 hours to complete the level." "It's already pretty good." Lin Fei nodded in agreement, and analyzed for Fatty Shu. "Clearing the ordinary level dungeon in one go will allow you to advance to level 4. You can form a team to conquer the ordinary level dungeon later and upgrade it to level 6. It shouldn't be a problem. I can be promoted to level 6 on the first day. There are still 6 days left before the college entrance examination. I hope to be promoted to level 9 or level 10. Level 9 and level 10 are enough for you to enter the top 100 prestigious schools in Longguo." After hearing this, Fatty Shu chuckled and said, "Brother Fei is right, I actually think so too." Although this score is not as good as Brother Fei's, I am very satisfied that a scumbag like me can enter one of the top 100 prestigious schools in Dragon Kingdom. Lin Fei nodded and encouraged. Don't be proud. If you work harder, you might be able to get into the top 50 prestigious schools. I don't dare think about it. Shu Wei scratched his head and smiled. When he saw Liang Jia coming over, he said to Lin Fei, "Sister, I also cleared the simple level dungeon by myself, an hour earlier than me." Lin Fei turned around and nodded to Liang Jia. He was not surprised at all that Liang Jia could clear the level in a single brush. Liang Jia responded to Lin Fei with a smile, but looked at Lin Fei with a somewhat complicated look. Lin Fei is almost 100% sure to be admitted to Longguo Vocational University. As for whether he can pass the exam, it's hard to say. This gap is indeed quite large. Liang Jia, who had never been interested in comparison, also felt a little envious of Lin Fei. Fatty Shu was still as heartless as usual and didn't care at all which university he could get into. Seeing that he was about to conquer the ordinary level dungeon, he asked Lin Fei, "Brother Fei, how is the situation in the ordinary level dungeon? Is it difficult? My eldest sister has been waiting for me for an hour, preparing to form a team with me to conquer the dungeon together." Ordinary level copy. Lin Fei thought about it carefully and replied, "The difficulty of the ordinary level dungeon is more than a little bit higher than the simple level dungeon. The monsters in it have not been weakened, and they are strong in combat power and very aggressive. Take the weakest level 3 monster as an example. The strength of one is equivalent to a dozen level 3 monsters in a simple dungeon. Not to mention those monsters with higher levels, you must be careful when dealing with them. Also, when you are fighting, try not to make too much noise, otherwise it will attract more monsters. If you make too much noise, it is not impossible to be surrounded by more than a dozen monsters." "Ah, is it so difficult?" Fatty Shu was shocked. He never expected that the ordinary level copy would be so difficult. He thought that the ordinary level dungeon was not much more difficult than the simple level dungeon. He and his eldest sister would team up and be able to fight all the way from beginning to end. Liang Jia next to her had a calm expression, as if she had known it for a long time, and said calmly, "Of course the ordinary level copy is difficult, otherwise why would it be that only Lin Fei has been able to clear the level alone for more than 10 years, while others rarely can pass it even if they form a team? However, this is much more difficult than the simple dungeon." Fatty Shu wilted over. Liang Jia rolled her eyes at him and said angrily, "If you are willing to listen carefully in class, there is no need to say more about these things." Then he comforted him and said, "With the two of us teaming up, the probability of clearing the level in one swipe is quite high. However, it doesn't matter even if you fail once you brush it, you just need to brush it a few more times." "Okay." Shu Wei nodded helplessly and could only accept this reality. Seeing Shu Hui's lack of interest, Lin Fei cheered him up and said, "It's hard to return to the ordinary level copy, but there are still many benefits." "What's the benefit?" When Shu Wei heard the word benefit, he immediately raised his head and became interested. Lin Fei said calmly, "The monsters in the ordinary level copy have not been weakened, so after killing the monsters, there is a certain probability of dropping items. Also, the higher the level of the monster, the greater the probability of dropping items, and the higher the level of the items. You should have obtained items when you killed the simple level dungeon boss." After hearing this, Shu Wei suddenly became excited, nodded and said, "I got a bottle of level 4 mana recovery potion in the simple dungeon, and I plan to sell it later. I estimate it will fetch 1 or 200 gold coins." Then he thought about it. If every monster in the ordinary level dungeon could drop items, wouldn't that make a fortune? Lin Fei looked at this guy who was so greedy for money. He laughed and said, "It's not an exaggeration. You can get level 4 items in the simple dungeon because you killed the dungeon boss. When you enter the ordinary level dungeon, you can only get some level 1 and level 2 items in the early stage. You can only see level 4 items in the level 6 and level 7 areas. If you want level 5 items, you have to kill the boss." "That's pretty good." Shu Wei nodded heavily, his enthusiasm immediately ignited. Even if it is to make a fortune, he must conquer the ordinary level dungeon. You can even brush it a few more times to get rid of bugs. Then he suddenly thought that Fei Zhe had already cleared the ordinary level dungeon, so he asked curiously, "Brother Fei, You must have gained a lot from the ordinary level dungeon. It's a lot of gains. Lin Fei nodded, pointed at the dean who was counting items in the rest area not far away, and said, "No, that table is full of them. The dean is worth at least tens of thousands of gold coins." Tens of thousands of gold coins. Fatty Shoe's eyes were gleaming with gold, and he was almost crying. My parents spent all their money to buy me the holy fire bow, which only cost tens of thousands of gold coins. Brother Fei, if you go in now, you will really make a fortune. Your net worth will exceed 10,000 yuan. Lin Fei smiled noncommittally. When he heard the dean say those things were worth tens of thousands of gold coins, he was shocked for a moment. After all, 1 gold coin is enough to feed a family for 10 days and a half. In the past, my parents worked so hard that they could only earn 7 or 8 gold coins a month. And just by clearing the ordinary level copy, I can get tens of thousands of gold coins, which is indeed a full harvest. No wonder everyone says that all the main combat professionals are extremely rich. This is absolutely true. Strategy Dungeon Secret Realm, killing monsters will make them rich. None of the auxiliary professionals can compare. Just like Shu Hui's parents, both of whom were in auxiliary occupations, they could only afford tens of thousands of gold coins if they emptied their wealth. It seems that I have to roll up my sleeves and work hard, clear the ordinary level dungeon a few more times, and try to make a fortune. Shu Wei rubbed his hands in excitement, and already regarded the ordinary level dungeon as a way to make a fortune. This left Liang Jia on the side extremely speechless. This scumbag doesn't pay attention to lectures. Only when entering the novice copy for the first time, the probability of monsters dropping items is relatively high. If you fail to clear the level for the first time, the probability of the monster dropping items will be extremely low if you clear it the second or third time. When ordinary people walk through the ordinary level dungeon, it's pretty good if they can get 3 or 5 items. Unless you have Lin Fei's level of strength, you can only make a small amount of money by conquering the novice copy, but it is impossible to make a fortune. Looking at Fatty Shu, who was still immersed in the dream of getting rich, Liang Jia shook her head and couldn't bear to hit him. Fatty Shu thought for a while, then looked at Lin Fei, rolled his eyes, and asked, "Brother Fei, you have earned tens of thousands of gold coins in ordinary level dungeons. Wouldn't you gain even more by conquering hard level dungeons?" "That's the theory, but in practice we have to go in and see." Lin Fei smiled, looking forward to it. Shu Wei thought about it longingly, sighed, shook his head and said, it's a pity, I'm afraid I won't have this chance. The difficult level dungeon is destined to miss me." He is still somewhat self-aware. Even ordinary level dungeons are difficult to achieve, let alone hard level dungeons. Don't forget, no one in the history of Riverside City has ever cleared the difficult level dungeon, not even in a team. Just my thin arms and legs. I guess not long after entering, I failed to clear the level and was teleported out. It's better not to embarrass yourself. Lin Fei patted Shu Wei on the shoulder and said, "Don't think so much, hurry up and prepare to conquer the ordinary level dungeon. I'm also going to conquer the difficult level dungeon." "Are you going to conquer the difficult level dungeon now? You have just come out of the ordinary level dungeon. Why don't you take a break?" Liang Jia looked at Lin Fei in disbelief. Lin Fei smiled and said nothing. Just as he was about to walk towards the entrance of the dungeon, he suddenly heard someone calling him, "Lin Fei, Lin Fei." When I turned around, I saw that it was Principal Jin. Lin Fei had no choice but to stop, turn around, salute, and then ask, "Principal, what's the matter?" "It's something." Jinda nodded and said in a gentle tone, "I heard from Lao Lu, the teaching director, that you are going to conquer the difficult level dungeon now?" "Yes." Lin Fei nodded, not knowing what kind of medicine Principal Jin was selling. "That's right. It just so happens that Liang Jia and Shu Wei are also here. I want to give you a suggestion." Jinda smiled and suggested to Lin Fei, "If you want to conquer the difficult level dungeon, you might as well take them with you so that you can have someone to take care of you." "Are you asking me to team up with Liang Jia and Shu Wei to conquer the difficult level dungeon?" Principal Jin said tactfully, but Lin Fei understood what he meant immediately. Ha. Principal Jin laughed dryly and nodded. "Although I have confidence in Lin Fei, but in the history of Riverside City, no one has ever cleared the difficult level dungeon, let alone cleared it alone. The difficulty level of the hard level copy is simply too great. Therefore, he wanted Lin Fei to team up with Liang Jia and Xu Wei to attack together. 3 people are much easier than 1. Moreover, you can also let Lin Fei lead Liang Jia and Xu Wei, so that they can progress faster. This. Lin Fei hesitated. The strength of the undead ghost has been improved again after he was promoted to level 8. Now the combat power is not inferior to level 10 monsters. Therefore, he had full confidence in completing the difficult level dungeon alone, and teaming up with Liang Jia and Xu Wei was completely redundant. But after all, the principal's suggestion was for his own good, so it might not be appropriate to reject it rashly. While he was hesitating, Xu Wei said to him excitedly, "Brother Fei, how about we listen to the principal and form a team to conquer the difficult dungeon together? I promise to listen to you in everything, and I won't compete with you for experience." Of course, Fatty Xu would not want to miss the opportunity to conquer a difficult level dungeon. After all, relying on your own strength alone, you will definitely have no chance of conquering the difficult level dungeon. Only by teaming up with Brother Fei can we have such an opportunity. Liang Jia, who was opposite, was also quite moved and winked at Lin Fei. Lin Fei smiled bitterly in his heart. These 2 people, who have never even conquered the ordinary level dungeon, will enter the difficult level dungeon with me. I'm afraid they won't have a few chances to make a move, and they will probably only be able to do so. Why are you wasting this time? But now that the conversation had come to this point, Lin Fei couldn't refuse, so he nodded and agreed. Okay, then you can form a team with me to conquer the difficult level dungeon. Anyway, it's easy for novices to get in and out of the dungeon. After they know the actual situation, it's best to let them out at worst. Xu Hui's face suddenly became more excited, and he even gestured to Lin Fei. Liang Jia also smiled at the side. Lin Fei gave a wry smile and led the 2 of them into the difficult level dungeon from the dungeon entrance under the gaze of Principal Jin. There was a spatial fluctuation, and the scene in front of him changed. When they opened their eyes again, the 3 of them entered the difficult level dungeon. Looking at the familiar forest scene, Xu Wei looked left and right, but didn't find anything special. He couldn't help but muttered, "I think it's almost the same as a simple copy." Lin Fei smiled and said nothing, summoning the ghosts of the dead to guard against the monster's attack. The moment the undead ghost appeared, Liang Jia felt a huge threat. Her momentum seemed to be suppressed. She couldn't help but squint her eyes and stare at the undead ghost, trying to see some mystery. Fatty Xu didn't pay attention to Liang Jia's reaction. He looked up and down at the undead ghost. Apart from feeling spooky, there didn't seem to be anything special about it. He couldn't help but asked curiously, "Brother Fei, how is the combat power of your summoned object?" "It's okay," Lin Fei said lightly. "Good? That's just normal." Xu Wei glanced at the undead ghosts again and suggested, "Then it's better to summon a few more. The more, the better." "No, 1 is enough." Lin Fei smiled. Xu Wei didn't understand what Lin Fei meant. Just as he was about to ask more questions, a crashing sound suddenly came from the woods ahead. "What?" Fatty Xu heard the noise and immediately turned his head to look at the swaying grass in the distance. Then a blue and black ghost leopard burst out from the grass and rushed towards the 3 of them. FK. Level 5 Ghost Leopard. Fatty Xu was shocked when he saw the level of the ghost leopard. In the difficult level dungeon, any monster had level 5. Quickly take out the holy fire bow, aim the bow in the direction of the ghost leopard and shoot an arrow. But the ghost leopard also reacted quickly. He jumped nimbly to avoid the arrows and sped up to rush towards the 3 of them. "I missed it." Fatty Xu cursed secretly, consumed his mana, used his skills and shot another arrow with perfect accuracy. Laugh. The flying arrow hit the ghost leopard's left front leg with 100 hits. But the ghost leopard was not greatly affected and its speed did not slow down. "Is everything okay?" Xu Wei looked at the ghost leopard in disbelief. His arrow had directly disabled the boss of the simple level dungeon before. "Is the difference that big? If 1 arrow doesn't work, then I'll take another one." Crack shot. Fatty Xu stretched his bow and knocked an arrow. After releasing the bowstring, the arrow turned into a stream of light and hit the ghost leopard with 100% accuracy. After being hit by the arrow this time, the ghost leopard's speed slowed down slightly, but it still did not stop and continued to rush towards the three people. Fatty Shu took 2 steps back in shock when he saw this. I used the skill twice, but it didn't cause much damage to him. The monsters in this difficulty level are too difficult to deal with, right? Liang Jia on the side saw that Fatty Shu didn't kill the monster, so she no longer hesitated. He took out the golden holy light from the backpack space, held the sword and ran quickly in the direction of the ghost leopard. Wing slash. Liang Jia suddenly stepped on the ground and jumped into the sky. A pair of faint golden wings appeared behind her. As Liang Jia swung his sword, the golden wings turned into sword light and slashed towards the ghost leopard. Boom! The golden sword light struck the ghost leopard, causing waves of air. The ghost leopard was slashed and flew dozens of meters away. One hit. Liang Jia did not relax at all. He stared closely at the ghost leopard dozens of meters away, and saw that although it was covered in blood, it still stood up again. It is indeed a monster in the difficult level dungeon. It is so strong and difficult to kill. Liang Jia secretly thought, and without hesitation, rushed towards the phantom leopard again. Perfect blade. 4 silver sword energies slashed at the ghost leopard. The ghost leopard had no way to avoid it. It was hit in the neck, its head flew off, and the windlass was carried out more than 10 meters away. It was too dead to die. Finally solved. Liang Jia exhaled, holding the sword in her right hand, and walked back to Lin Fei and the others. The eldest sister is still awesome. Shu Wei gave a thumbs up and praised Liang Jia, but said with some lingering fear, "This difficult level dungeon is too difficult. Every monster starts at level 5, and it is so difficult to deal with." Liang Jia nodded in agreement. Don't look at the fact that she just killed the level 5 ghost leopard in 2 moves. But these 2 skills were used twice in a row, and 1/3 of the mana was consumed at once. In other words, her mana can support her to kill 2 monsters at most, and then she will run out of mana, have no strength to fight anymore, and be forced to exit the dungeon. This shows how difficult the difficulty level dungeon is. Even a rare professional like Liang Jia can only deal with 3 monsters. After Shu Wei was still frightened, he was a little thankful. Fortunately, it was just 1 monster. If there were a few more, we wouldn't be able to deal with it at all. Recalling what Lin Fei told him before, he frowned and looked at Lin Fei. Brother Fei, do you think there was such a big movement just now? Will it attract more monsters? Lin Fei didn't answer, but Liang Jia next to him had a dark look on his face. Shut your crow's mouth. Just finished speaking. Then I heard rushing sounds coming from all directions, and the surrounding grass and woods were shaking constantly. Damn. I can't really be right. Shu Wei was startled and looked around cautiously. Within a few seconds, monsters appeared one after another, looking at the 3 of them with eager eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, holy crap, 13 level 5 monsters, it's all over now. Shu Hui's whole body collapsed. He hid behind Lin Fei, shrank his head and said, Brother Fei, I think we should retreat quickly. This difficult level dungeon cannot be conquered by humans at all. Liang Jia was not as surprised as him, and she also looked at Lin Fei, as if asking him if he could deal with it. Lin Fei patted Shu Hui's shoulder and said comfortingly, Don't worry, nothing will happen. Leave it all to me. Brother Fei, can you handle it? Don't show off. Shu Wei had never seen Lin Fei's true strength and subconsciously worried. We'll see. Lin Fei smiled and didn't explain much. Then with a thought, the undead ghost behind him received the order and immediately rushed towards these 13 monsters. Then, Shu Wei and Liang Jia saw 13 monsters rushing towards the ghosts of the undead. But the fight later was not as inseparable as imagined. Only to see the undead ghosts slap each of these 13 monsters to death easily. When Shu Wei saw the end, he couldn't help but open his mouth wide and couldn't recover for a long time. Liang Jia also had a look of incredible surprise on her face. So strong. No wonder my momentum was suppressed by it as soon as it was summoned by Lin Fei. It turns out that its strength is so terrifying. 13 level 5 monsters can be easily dealt with. The strength of this summoned creature is at least comparable to level 7 and level 8 monsters, right? Fei. Brother Fei, this summon of yours is too powerful. You can beat 13 and win so easily, Shu Wei said exaggeratedly, gesturing with his hands. Liang Jia also agreed very much, but didn't say it out loud. Lin Fei, on the other hand, looked indifferent, as if he was used to this kind of scene, and just said lightly, "No need to make a fuss, this is just an appetizer, the monster behind is even more powerful." "Okay. Let's go see what trophies we have." Lin Fei smiled and patted Shu Wei on the shoulder, then headed towards the battlefield where the undead ghosts were. Shu Wei and Liang Jia looked at each other and followed immediately. After arriving at the battlefield, the monsters' bodies slowly disappeared, leaving 3 items on the spot. Level 2 meat, Level 2 attack claws, Level 3 wolf fangs. A bunch of garbage. Lin Fei curled his lips and immediately lost interest, and had no intention of putting it into his backpack. He turned around and looked at Shu Wei and the 2 who had just walked over, and said, "There is nothing good, let's move on." "Nothing good?" Shu Wei looked at the 3 items on the ground and asked with a puzzled look on his face, "Brother Fei, won't you put these things away? These are all gold coins. Why not put them away?" Lin Fei shook his head and said calmly, "A bunch of worthless things will only take up space." In the ordinary level dungeon, he doesn't even look at items below level 4. Now that we have reached the difficult level dungeon, we will no longer waste time on level 2 and level 3 items. The really good things worth putting in his backpack space can only be seen in the level 9 and level 10 areas. If you like it, just take it. Lin Fei added, "Then I won't be polite." Shu Wei was not polite to Lin Fei and happily put the 3 items into the backpack space. Then, the 2 continued to follow Lin Fei for the next hour. They finally understood why Lin Fei was able to clear the simple level dungeon and ordinary level dungeon in such a short time. Lin Fei's summoned soul, the undead ghost, was too powerful. No matter how many monsters he encounters, he kills them like a chopping machine without even stopping. And they followed them leisurely as if on an outing, without any chance of intervening in the battle. It's certainly fast to conquer a copy like this. Seeing monsters that were not weaker than him being slapped to death by the undead ghosts. Shu Wei knew for the first time that the guide copy could be so simple. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it. Liang Jia followed silently, not saying a word from beginning to end, but looking at Lin Fei with eyes that gradually became lofty. Too strong. It's so powerful. No wonder he became the first person to clear the ordinary level dungeon in more than 10 years. This strength is stronger than all of them combined, and it makes people unable to even think about catching up. It was really disappointing to change jobs in the same year as Lin Fei. No matter how good he was, he would be overshadowed by Lin Fei. At the same time, she also had some doubts in her heart. Isn't it said that lord-type professions consume the most resources and require a lot of resources to improve the strength of summoned objects? Why are Lin Fei's summons so powerful even though they don't have much equipment? This is unreasonable. How on earth did he do it? Or is this the only hidden career advantage? Liang Jia couldn't figure out this question, so she suppressed the question in her heart and silently followed Lin Fei's footsteps. It took more than an hour for the 3 of them to pass through the level 5 area and enter the level 6 area. During this period, the undead ghosts killed more than 200 level 5 monsters. However, Lin Fei's experience has only increased by a little more than 1/3, and he is still far away from being promoted to level 9. This is also something that can't be helped. As the level increases, the experience gained from killing low-level monsters will become less and less. When Lin Fei is level 1, he can gain 10 experience points by killing level 1 monsters. Now at level 8, you can only gain 2 or 3 experience points by killing level 1 monsters. If you want to be promoted, you must either improve quantity or quality. Lin Fei estimated that if he wanted to advance to level 9, he would need to fight all the way to the level 8 area in order to gain enough experience. To advance to level 10, you need to clear the level and kill the boss. Thinking like this, Lin Fei couldn't help but speed up his pace. But after arriving at the level 6 area, Liang Jia behind her didn't intend to continue following. She turned to look at Shu Wei and said, "It's time for us to go out." "Ah, why are you going out?" Shu Wei asked doubtfully. Liang Jia had a dark look on her face and patiently explained. "Lin Fei can pass the level by himself. We can't help here, so why waste time? Why don't you leave quickly and go to the ordinary level dungeon?" Along the way, all the monsters were dealt with by the ghosts of the dead, and they could only watch helplessly. And even if he wanted to help, his strength would not allow it. Then why are you still here? Continue to make soy sauce. It's better to leave early and go to the ordinary level dungeon to improve your strength. Shu Wei hesitated after hearing this. The undead ghost killed more than 200 monsters along the way and dropped dozens of items. They were all level 2 and level 3. Lin Fei didn't like them, so he picked them up. They were worth at least 2,000 to 3,000 gold coins in total. Now he wanted to follow Lin Fei all the time, and of course he didn't want to leave. He turned to look at Lin Fei, wanting to hear what Brother Fei had to say. Lin Fei looked at the fat man who was greedy for money, nodded helplessly and said, Liang Jia is right, you should hurry up and conquer the ordinary level copy, don't waste time here. Okay. Shu Wei reluctantly agreed. Then he was dragged away from the difficult level copy by Liang Jia. Liang Jia? Shu Wei? It's only been more than an hour, why are you out here? Did you fail to conquer the difficult level dungeon? Principal Jin frowned, with confusion on his face. He tilted his head and looked at the entrance copy. He didn't see anyone coming out again, and asked, where is Lin Fei? Why didn't he come out? Liang Jia replied calmly, we didn't fail in the strategy. Lin Fei can conquer the difficult level dungeon by himself. It's completely redundant for us to stay in there and we can't help, so we came out. Purely redundant. Principal Jin didn't quite understand what this meant. 2 more people and 2 more helpers could not help. Then I heard Liang Jia explain how she and Shu Wei followed Lin Fei to conquer the difficult level dungeon. He emphasized how powerful Lin Fei was. He could complete the level by himself. They were just following him for fun. They might as well have come out as a team to conquer the ordinary level dungeon earlier. After hearing this, Principal Jin's eyes widened and his face was full of shock. Although he knew that Lin Fei was very strong after he cleared the simple level dungeon and the ordinary level dungeon in a short time, he actually had no specific idea of how strong Lin Fei was. Now after listening to Liang Jia's description, he realized that Lin Fei was so strong. The strength of the undead ghost is at least comparable to level 7 and level 8 monsters. No wonder Lin Fei was able to clear the simple level dungeon and ordinary level dungeon in such a short time. With such a powerful summon, dealing with monsters in the dungeon is simply a one-sided massacre, so the clearance speed can't be faster. Besides, no wonder he could conquer 3 difficult dungeons in a row without taking a break. It turned out that all the monsters were solved by the undead ghosts, and Lin Fei himself did not have to take action at all. Then there is really no need to rest. Principal Jin suddenly figured out all the causes and consequences. I sighed in my heart. Only with such a strong strength can I become the first person to clear the ordinary level copy in more than 10 years. There is even the possibility of becoming the first person in the history of Riverside City to clear the difficult level dungeon. With Lin Fei here, the second middle school will once again surpass the first middle school and take first place this year, which is definitely a sure thing. Principal Jin couldn't help but feel happy, and his hands were trembling with excitement. Principal Wang beside him finally understood. Why did Lu Zi, a kid from a rich family, spend a lot of resources to equip summons, but in the end he couldn't compare to Lin Fei, a commoner kid? It turns out that the combat power of other people's summons is very powerful, and there is no need to rely on equipment to increase the combat power. Now the strength of Lin Fei's summons is comparable to level 7 and level 8. Will it be even stronger in the future? Lu Zi, on the other hand, could only improve the combat power of his summons by smashing equipment. Then this is nothing compared to nothing. How could Lu Zi be Lin Fei's opponent? The doubts in Principal Wang's mind were swept away, but he became even more discouraged. It's such a bad time for me. Last year, because of Lin Shui, the second middle school surpassed the first middle school. I thought that a hidden professional would be born in number 1 middle school this year, so I could feel proud now, right? Unexpectedly, another Lin Fei appeared in number 2 middle school, and he was even more powerful than Lin Shui last year. Now, even if there are hidden professionals in number 1 middle school, they cannot be opponents of number 2 middle school. It's too difficult for me. Principal Wang felt bitter in his mouth. I don't understand why the gap is so big even though they are both lord-type professions. This is unscientific. Principal Wang looked troubled. Liang Jia saw that Principal Jin kept giggling happily and had no response, so she couldn't help but said, "Principal, is there anything else? If not, then we have to form a team to conquer the ordinary level dungeon." "Oh, okay." Principal Jin finally reacted and said quickly, "You guys go quickly, plan carefully, and try to improve your strength as much as possible before the college entrance examination." Then he said with some embarrassment, "I made a mistake in judgment this time. I didn't expect that Lin Fei is so powerful that he doesn't need your help at all, and it has delayed you for so long." "It's okay, Principal. I didn't follow you in vain this time. It can be regarded as a great experience," Liang Jia said with emotion. "If I hadn't followed Lin Fei, I wouldn't have known that some professionals could be so powerful. The level is far inferior to that of me." Principal Jin saw that Liang Jia was a little embarrassed, so he comforted him softly. "Don't be discouraged. A genius like Lin Fei may not appear in hundreds of years. So don't think about comparing with him, just work hard to improve yourself. You are a rare professional, and you have hope of being admitted to Longguo Vocational University. If you can form a team with Lin Fei during the college entrance examination, your hope will be even greater." "Well, I understand, thank you Principal." Liang Jia understood what the principal meant, saluted Jinda, and then entered with Shu Wei, who had just handed the items in the backpack space to the dean, ordinary level copy. Principal Jin watched them leave with a smile on his face. He looked at the three people around him again, his eyes full of pride. "Congratulations to Principal Jin." Guo Hai took the initiative to congratulate Jinda at this time and said very intimately, "There is such a genius in number 2 middle school. This year's college entrance examination results will definitely be particularly outstanding. Principal Jin will probably be promoted again by then. The status of high school principals in Riverside City is already high. If he is promoted to another level, Kinder's status in Riverside City will be even higher." Guo Hai didn't have much friendship with Jinda in the past, so he naturally wanted to take advantage of this time to get closer to Jinda. "Master Guo is joking. I have just become the principal of number 2 middle school for less than a year. It's hard to say whether I can be promoted again." Jinda was modest, but his excitement was already palpable. The dejected Principal Wang next to him covered his chest when he heard this, as if he had been hit by an arrow again. "I have been working as the principal of number 1 middle school for so many years and have not been promoted. On the other hand, the principal of the number 2 middle school was promoted last year, and this year he has just been promoted to vice principal less than a year ago. Why are all the good students falling behind in the second middle school? This is too unfair." Principal Wang looked helpless. Jinda stood up, looked at Zhou Mi who was deep in thought, raised his hands and said, "Mr. Zhou, don't you want to go back? I'll see you off." Zhou Mi waved his hand with a smile and said, "I won't leave yet. It's not common for new job transfers to clear the difficult level dungeon. I want to stay and witness Lin Fei clearing the difficult level dungeon with my own eyes." Jinda said with a smile. "Mr. Zhou is being humble. Jiangnan Vocational University ranks among the top 10 in Longguo. You are a famous teacher at Jiangnan Vocational University. What kind of talented students have I never seen? This is not modesty." Zhou Mi shook his head and said, "I have taught at Jiangnan Vocational University for so many years. I have seen some students who can clear the ordinary level dungeon alone, and I have also seen several students who can clear the difficult level dungeon in a team. I have never seen a single genius who has cleared the difficult level dungeon. Principal Jin is so lucky to have such a talented student from number 2 middle school. I am so envious of him." Principal Jin had a smile on his face, thought about it in his mind, and continued. According to Liang Jia's description, Lin Fei passed the level 5 area in just over an hour. According to this speed, he should be able to pass the level 5 area in another 7 or 8 hours. If we can clear it, we shouldn't have to wait too long. Then I'll wait and see, Zhou Mi said with a smile. Clear the difficult level dungeon in 10 hours. This is someone else's, and Zhou Mi won't believe a word of it. But Lin Fei was different. Lin Fei's outstanding results in both the simple level dungeon and the ordinary level dungeon impressed everyone. This child cannot be judged by common sense. Maybe you can really complete the game in 10 hours, as Principal Jin said. Zhou Mi had already labeled Lin Fei as a genius among geniuses. He had never seen such a talented student in his decades of teaching at Jiangnan Vocational University. Therefore, we must invite Lin Fei and Chen Zihan to team up for the college entrance examination. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Chen Zihan. If you miss this time, it will be too late to regret. At the same time, Zhou Mi could also expect that after word spread about Lin Fei's performance in the novice dungeon, many people would come to ask to team up with Lin Fei for the college entrance examination. After all, as long as he can team up with Lin Fei for the college entrance examination, his children's grades will definitely improve a lot. He had decided that after Lin Fei successfully cleared the difficult level dungeon, he would go back and persuade the city lord to come to his door in person to invite Lin Fei and Chen Zihan to form a team, and he would let Lin Fei do whatever he wanted. Even Lin Fei only needs to agree to give Chen Zihan a team member quota, and the remaining 3 team member quotas can all be decided by Lin Fei. In this way, we can have greater confidence that Lin Fei will agree to team up with Chen Zihan for the college entrance examination. I made up my mind. Zhou Mi waited quietly while chatting with Principal Jin and the other 3. Time passed by minute, in the difficult level copy. Under the protection of the undead ghosts, Lin Fei fought his way through the level 5 area, level 6 area, level 7 area, and entered the level 8 area. Finally made the cut. After seeing that the experience bar reached 100% again, Lin Fei smiled on his face. Now that I am at level 9, I am getting closer and closer to level 15. Maybe I can advance to level 15 and activate the system before the college entrance examination. Name: Lin Fei. Occupation: Undead Lord, only. Level: 9, 0.00%. Life: 150. Strength: 170. Agility: 140. Mana: 200 180ths plus 20. Equipment: Magic Ring, Backpack Space, 490ths. Army: Undead Ghost. As the level increases, more arms can be unlocked. Skills: Teleportation, Bone Spurs, Summoning Undead Ghosts. Teleport: consumes 30 mana points to instantly move 1000 meters in the specified direction. Bone Spurs: consumes 60 mana points to summon bone spurs from the ground to attack the enemy, causing physical damage to the target. Summon the Undead Ghost: spend 10 mana points to summon an undead ghost. Talent: Infinite Synthesis. Synthesize any number and type of items and summons to obtain items with corresponding random abilities and corresponding random levels. After being promoted to level 9, Lin Fei's 4-dimensional attributes and backpack space have improved a lot. The power of 2 skills, including Instant and Bone Spur, has also been improved. Of course, what Lin Fei is most concerned about is his mana value. With the blessing of the magic ring, the mana value has reached 200 points, and 20 undead ghosts can be summoned at one go. However, it is definitely not possible to consume all the mana, and some should be left for emergencies. Summon the ghosts of the dead. Lin Fei did not hesitate and spent 150 points of mana to summon 15 undead ghosts and synthesize them again to continue to increase the strength of the undead ghosts. It won't be long before we have to fight the dungeon boss. Naturally, the higher the strength of the undead ghost, the better. Black Iron level undead ghost. Life: 400. Strength: 420 plus 40. Agility: 400 plus 20. Mana: 370. Equipment: Phantom Belt, Ring of Destruction. Skill: Strengthen. Enhancement: consumes 80 mana points to double the attack power for 30 seconds. Cooling time 1 hour. Now the strength improvement after the synthesis of undead ghosts is getting less and less. After synthesizing 15 undead ghosts at one time, the 4-dimensional attributes were only improved by dozens of points. In the future, the synthesis may be even less. I don't know when the white-silver level undead ghosts can be summoned. By combining the white-silver level undead ghosts, the strength of the undead ghosts should be increased even more. But even so, the combat power of the undead ghost has reached 460, which is comparable to level 11 monsters. Even if the difficulty level dungeon boss is much stronger than the ordinary level 10 monster, the undead ghost should still be able to deal with it. Think of this. Lin Fei continued to move forward confidently again. After entering the level 8 area, The items dropped by monsters are finally noticeable. Most of them are level 4 items, and there will also be some level 5 items. Lin Fei had already obtained 4 items before he was promoted. Now that he continues to deepen, he should get more. Another 2 hours passed. The undead ghosts are fighting their way through the level 8 and level 9 areas, unimpeded. However, the number of monsters in level 8 and level 9 areas is much smaller, only more than 100 in total. After killing all these monsters, Lin Fei's experience bar reached 80%, and he was still some way away from being promoted to level 10. Fortunately, the monsters in level 8 and level 9 areas are very powerful, and almost every monster will drop items after death. After Lin Fei picked it up, the backpack space was full again. Basically it was filled with level 5 items, and a few were level 6 items. By some estimates, it's worth 50 to 60,000 gold coins. This time he really got rich. Shu Hui's holy fire bow only cost tens of thousands of gold coins. Lin Fei, who was in a good mood, hummed a tune and walked all the way out of the level 9 area and entered the level 10 area. The scene before me was still the familiar prairie. Based on the experience of easy level dungeons and ordinary level dungeons, the boss of the difficult level dungeon should be a level 10 ghost leopard, and its strength should not be weaker than an ordinary level 11 monster. Fortunately, the strength of the undead ghost is already comparable to level 11 monsters, so Lin Fei is not worried at all. Humming a little tune all the way on the grassland, slowly looking for traces of the ghost leopard. After searching for nearly an hour, there was no sign of the ghost leopard. Huh? Why is there a forest here? Lin Fei looked at the forest not far away and felt a little strange. He had never seen this forest before in the easy level dungeon or the difficult level dungeon. Is this something unique to difficult level dungeons? Driven by curiosity, Lin Fei walked into the forest with the ghost of the undead. As soon as he entered, Lin Fei felt something different. This forest is different from the forest in the level 9 area. The breath of life in it is more intense and full of vitality. It's just such a vibrant forest, but why is there not a single living thing? Lin Fei looked around. Not to mention monsters, not even a bug was seen. It's a strange time. Suddenly I saw the trees in this forest moving. The big trees kept moving, the gaps between the trees were blocked, and vines grew wildly, as if they were weaving cages. Before Lin Fei could react, a cage of trees and vines had formed, and it was too late to retreat. This is the boss of the difficult level dungeon. Lin Fei suddenly realized. No wonder the forest is full of life, but there is no monster. It turns out that these forests themselves are monsters, and their vitality is also the vitality of the forest monsters themselves. Before, he thought that the boss of the difficult level dungeon was the same as the ghost leopard like the easy level dungeon and the difficult level dungeon. Unexpectedly, it was not. How careless. Lin Fei shook his head. He was negligent and took the initiative to enter the trap of the dungeon boss. He really shouldn't have. Leave here first. Lin Fei stood still, consumed 30 points of mana, and used the teleportation skill. The next second, he appeared 1,000 meters away in the forest. Fortunately, I was careful before and reserved 50 points of mana for emergencies, otherwise I would have been in trouble this time. Leaving the cage, Lin Fei exhaled a breath. As for the undead ghost still staying inside, he did so on purpose. Once you leave the combat area, the undead ghost can show off its skills against monsters. Let's take a look at the situation of this dungeon boss first. Lin Fei began to explore the properties of forest monsters. He had previously thought that the dungeon boss was a ghost leopard. He didn't think in this direction and didn't investigate, so he was caught off guard by this forest. Holy Tree. Level 10. Life 500. Strength 390. Agility 100. Mana 450. Skill Holy Tree Cage. Domain skills can suppress the trapped person's strength and release acid mist and supernatural energy to corrode the trapped person. Introduction. The Holy Tree is composed of a mother body and several daughter bodies. It is usually in a dormant state. After being awakened, it will actively attack nearby life forms. It actually has the domain skill Holy Tree Cage, which can suppress the strength of the trapped person. Lin Fei rubbed his chin and thought carefully. The strength of the undead ghost is already on par with the Holy Tree. If it is suppressed by the holy tree again, its strength may not be as strong as the holy tree. However, don't worry too much. Lin Fei smiled slightly. You have the skill holy tree cage, and the undead ghost also has skill enhancement. Strengthening skills can double the combat power of the undead ghost in a short time, making it easy to kill you. He just finished speaking. Then a blast was heard in the distance. Then countless branches of residual trees in the forest flew up and scattered around. The ghosts of the undead have broken through the cage of the holy tree and easily walked out of the holy tree forest. However, the ghost of the undead did not cut off the mother body of the holy tree. Therefore, as soon as they walked out of the holy tree forest, countless vines were attacking the ghosts of the dead. But as soon as these vines came into contact with the undead ghost, they passed directly through its body without causing any harm. The undead ghost is a soul body and is immune to physical damage. Only domain skills such as Holy Tree Cage can pose a threat to him. Now that there is no suppression from the Holy Tree Cage, the combat power of the undead ghost has doubled, and the Holy Tree Forest can no longer be the opponent of the undead ghost. Don't worry about which one is the mother body and which one is the child body. Just level the whole forest for me. Lin Fei gave the order with a cold face. I had a smooth journey all the way, but here I almost overturned. Face must be regained. We must be more careful in the future and not fall into the trap of empiricism. Following Lin Fei's order, the ghosts of the undead rushed into the sacred tree forest again, cutting down each tree at an extremely fast speed. The holy tree forest also went crazy, and countless vines grew wildly, trying to trap the ghosts of the dead into the holy tree cage again. But the ghost of the undead can break the sacred tree cage once and break it a second time. Therefore, he didn't care about the reformed holy tree cage at all and concentrated on harvesting trees. Once the holy tree cage was formed, it would be broken with a wave of his hand. The battle lasted for nearly half an hour. As the undead ghost cut off the last sacred tree, the forest blocking the view on the grassland completely disappeared, and the field of vision became open again. Lin Fei also received a reminder of increased experience. Kill level 10 boss holy tree. Experience plus 2000. Good guy. He is indeed a dungeon boss. The experience gained from killing him is equivalent to more than 20 level 9 monsters. Now the experience bar has finally increased to 100%, and you can advance to level 10. Lin Fei grinned. I saw that my property panel changed immediately. Name: Lin Fei. Occupation: Undead Lord, only. Level: 10. 0.00%, Life: 200, Strength: 220. Agility: 200, Mana: 240 240ths plus 20, Equipment: Magic Ring. Backpack Space: 90, 110, Army. Undead Ghost: as the level increases, more arms can be unlocked. Skills: Normal Shield, Teleportation, Bone Spurs, Summoning Undead Ghosts. Ordinary Shield. Consumes 20 mana points, offsets 30% of the enemy's damage, lasts for 5 minutes, and can be used on multiple professionals at the same time. Teleportation. Consume 50 mana points to instantly move 1500 meters in the specified direction. Bone Spurs. Consumes 70 mana points to summon Bone Spurs from the ground to attack the enemy, causing physical damage to the target. Summon the Undead Ghost. Spend 10 mana points to summon an undead ghost. Talent: Infinite Synthesis. Synthesize any number and type of items and summons to obtain items with corresponding random abilities and corresponding random levels. After being promoted to level 10, I actually awakened another skill. Lin Fei was pleasantly surprised and looked at the introduction of the shield skill on the attribute panel. It consumes 20 mana points and offsets 30% of the enemy's damage. It lasts for 5 minutes. You can use it on multiple professionals at the same time. After reading it, I couldn't help but feel a little regretful. It's a pity that it is a defensive skill. I am protected by the ghosts of the undead, so this skill is of little use to me. However, if we form a team in the future to conquer the copy of Secret Realm, we can use it for our teammates. With this thought in mind, Lin Fei closed the attribute panel and returned to the area where the Holy Tree Forest was located. His eyes scanned the tree stumps on the ground, searching carefully for something. Finally I found what I was looking for next to a tree stump in the center. Heart of the Holy Tree. Level. Level 7. Function. After use, it can permanently increase 100 health points, and there is a 20% probability of awakening the skill Holy Tree Cage. Use restrictions. Restricted to wood professionals. Nice one. Lin Fei's eyes lit up. Although I do not meet the standards for using the Heart of the Holy Tree, it is a level 7 item. There is a 20% chance of awakening a skill after use. As long as you take it out, it will definitely be snapped up by many wood professionals, and it will definitely sell for a big price. After happily putting the Heart of the Holy Tree into his backpack, Lin Fei returned to the level 9 area with the ghost of the undead. Joke. There are still 19 units of empty backpack space, so of course we need to fill them up. Anyway, I have cleared the level now and I am not in a hurry to go back. Lin Fei was humming a tune with ease while walking along his memory, looking for items that he had thrown away halfway because there was no space in his backpack. Watching Lin Fei come out of the entrance to the dungeon, Zhou Mi's eyes lit up. He shook his fan lightly, turned to Jinda and smiled. Principal Jin's expectation is indeed good. Lin Fei really cleared the level in 10 hours. Jinda smiled and waved his hand, and said humbly, "It's Lin Fei who strives for his own success, I am just guessing." Zhou Mi smiled, waved his fan again, and said with emotion, "I thought I would never see anyone who could clear the difficult level dungeon in my life, but I didn't expect that when I came to Riverside City, I actually saw it with my own eyes. Haha, this trip is really amazing. It's worth it, it's worth it." Guo Hai nodded hurriedly at the side. Yes, Lin Fei is the first person in Riverside City to clear the difficult level dungeon, and he also did it solo, which is absolutely unprecedented. It is really a blessing to be able to witness it with my own eyes. When Principal Jin heard this, the smile on his face became even bigger, and his heart was filled with pride. He got up and went to greet Lin Fei in person. The first thing he said when he saw Lin Fei was, "I passed the level." This time it was an affirmative tone. With the previous 2 experiences in Liang Jia's story, he no longer had the slightest doubt that Lin Fei could clear the difficult level dungeon. Yeah. Lin Fei nodded and said, "Passed the level. Very good." Principal Jin smiled brightly and added, "You have already passed the novice copy trial, and it doesn't make much sense to stay for a second time. I'll take you home later to have a good rest and prepare to conquer the 10 new secret realms." Yeah, I understand. Lin Fei nodded, and that was actually his plan next. "I will send someone to pick you up before you conquer the new secret realm in level 10. Just wait at home with peace of mind." Zhou Mi also walked over with Guo Hai and said to Lin Fei with a smile, "Okay, Mr. Zhou." Lin Fei nodded to Zhou Mi. He was looking forward to conquering the new secret realm in level 10. He didn't know if he could be promoted to level 15 after clearing the level. Zhou Mi smiled and nodded, then said to Principal Jin, "Since Lin Fei has come out, it's time for us to go back." Guo Hai also echoed, "Yes, there are still a lot of things to do in the City Lord's mansion." Principal Jin nodded when he heard this and said, "Let's go together, I just want to send Lin Fei back." Okay. Zhou Mi and Zhou Mi agreed happily. It was not surprising that Jinda personally sent Lin Fei home. With such an outstanding student, everyone must take good care of him. At this time, the dean also saw Lin Fei coming out of the copy and walking over. After coming over, he first said hello to Jinda, Zhou Mi and Guo Hai. "Principal, Mr. Zhou, Master Guo." Then he turned to look at Lin Fei and said in a gentle tone, "Your trophies were sold for a total of 12,000 gold coins. According to your request, I used these gold coins to buy you 6 bottles of level 9 mana recovery potion." As he spoke, he took out 6 bottles of mana recovery potions from his backpack and handed them to Lin Fei. Lin Fei took the mana recovery potion, kept it in his arms, and thanked the dean. "Thank you, Dean. Sorry to trouble you." No trouble, this is all within my responsibilities." The dean smiled, waved his hand, and said to Lin Fei, "If you need help in the future, just ask, you're welcome." Yes. Principal Jin nodded in agreement and interjected, "If the dean can't help you, just come to me directly. We are all your teachers, there is no need to be polite to us." "Thank you, Principal. Thank you, Dean." Lin Fei nodded in thanks. Principal Jin then asked Lin Fei, "Do you really need the mana recovery potion?" 12,000 gold coins was nothing to him, but it was definitely not a small amount for a person from a civilian family like Lin Fei. Lin Fei spent so much money to buy mana recovery potions, obviously there was a great demand for mana recovery potions. I need some," Lin Fei replied, but of course he wouldn't say specifically why he needed it. "Well, since you need it, I happen to have some left over there, and I'll send them to you later." Principal Jin nodded and continued. "No, no, no," Lin Fei waved his hands repeatedly. "These 6 bottles are enough for me for the time being." Principal Jin insisted. "The more, the better. Just be prepared, so don't refuse." "What I was thinking was that I would go to the guild later and buy a few more bottles of mana recovery potion for Lin Fei." Okay, thank you, Principal." Seeing the principal's insistence, Lin Fei had no choice but to agree. Zhou Mi listened to the conversation between the two. Although he didn't say anything, he silently noted in his heart that Lin Fei was in great need of the mana recovery potion. When Principal Jin saw Lin Fei agreeing, he nodded happily and said to the dean, "Lao Lu, you're just in time. I'm going to take Lin Fei home. Please keep an eye on this place." "No problem, Principal." The dean nodded. Then, Jinda took Lin Fei, chatted and laughed with Zhou Mi and Guo Hai, and left the dungeon square. As for Principal Wang, who was still in the rest area, he had been completely forgotten by the 3 of them. Principal Wang had no intention of following them. Lu Zi is still in the ordinary level copy and has not come out. Of course, he has to wait for Lu Zi to come out. "And what are you going to do? Do you see Jinda's successful face?" There are also Zhou Mi and Guo Hai. As soon as they saw Lin Fei coming out of the difficult level copy, they were about to leave. In addition, Zhou Mi took the initiative to give Lin Fei a quota before. This has clearly shown that they are here for Lin Fei. If I hadn't shamelessly asked for a new level 10 secret realm spot for Lu Zi, people might have ignored Lu Zi. Well, today was a really bad day. All the limelight was stolen by Jinda. Principal Wang, who was in an extremely bad mood, no longer had any expectations of winning first place in number 1 middle school. He only hoped that Lu Zi could gain some momentum and be admitted to Longguo Vocational University to save his little remaining face. Maybe it would be a good choice to let Lu Zi team up with Lin Fei for the college entrance examination. Principal Wang thought shamelessly in his heart. Lu Zejong definitely couldn't compete with Lin Fei. What should I do if I can't compete? Then I had no choice but to join. If he can team up with Lin Fei, Lu Zi, a hidden professional, will definitely be admitted to Longguo Vocational University. The city lord sent Zhou Mi here with the same intention. Did he want Chen Zihan and Lin Fei to team up to take the college entrance examination? Chen Zihan can do it. Why can't Lu Zi? But, how do we find a way to get Lin Fei to agree to form a team? The initiative lies with Lin Fei himself. If he doesn't agree, there's nothing I can do. Principal Wang was very unsure. He definitely didn't have the nerve to mention this to Jinda and Lin Fei. After all, he didn't deal with number 2 middle school early on, and he had been disgusted by number 2 middle school before. He laughed at Lin Fei. "If I mention this matter, there is a high probability that I will mess it up. Then we can only let the Liu family come forward. The Liu family is one of the largest families in Riverside City. If they personally invited Lin Fei would probably give them a bit of a thumbs up. You can impose any conditions you want, as long as they don't go too far. At the same time, it also allows Lu Zi to build some relationships with Lin Fei when he conquers the new secret realm in level 10, thereby increasing the probability of success. Just do it. I will tell the Liu family about this later. When Lu Zi comes out, he must be given some instructions.